Jay, listen to me. There's nothing you're going to say today that I won't believe. This is the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And I am Jeff Burns.
And we're going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today, we are settling a score with esteemed Lorik Disciple Jerome Carl, making good on his kind patronage of Erdrick contribution to the Able Gamers Foundation by tackling any title of his choosing. And that choice was the 1986 Irem-Slash-Broderbund release, actually 87, stateside, of Deadly Towers for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And Jerome also gets to name the episode. He has chosen Malroth's Mischief, Hell's Bells, on account of Hell's Bells being the title Broderbund wanted to go with, but Nintendo said you can't say the H word on the Toys R Us toy aisle, or in the Toys R Us toy aisle, and then made them change it. And, of course, the Malroth's Mischief leg of it is just an appreciative nod to our Dragon Warrior story world themes with the show. So that was cool of him, I think.
Yeah, actually a very good name, I would say.
I concur. That's when I extended that, I was like, don't feel any pressure. Like, don't worry, if you don't want to do it, I'll come up with something like I usually do. And he's like, yeah, whatever, I'll think about it. And he came back like a day later. I was like, damn, dude, that was pretty good.
He's got that colon subtitle in there, too.
Right. Multifaceted choice.
Better than I could have done, and also introduces some history. So that's very well done.
Right,
that's a co-producer credit.
Right, I'll be sure to I'll make sure the IMDb reflects that.
When was the last time you updated mine, by the way?
I did it at 100 episodes.
Okay.
So there's quite a few. I forget. It was a fun It was fun to look at the disparity, like the episode breakdown.
Oh
the
yeah,
first
you can.
100,
on IMDb. Oh my
gosh. IMDb, because Amazon. It started with Amazon. I didn't even ever think to IMDb it actually, but or add it to IMDb. But once Amazon Music started doing podcasts, they automatically started populating IMDb with podcasts. So it went on there, and I noticed it, and I was like, oh fuck. So they don't put all the information actually, just that the episode exists.
Yeah.
So I went in and fucking tediously did it all for the first when we got to when we hit that 100 episode fucking benchmark. But I'll probably do it eventually. Yeah, Jab,
I released that album too, by the way, so you got to update that one as well.
Well, that's not IMDb. Doesn't
they not do music then?
They don't. No, they don't. Not. They do music videos, some shit like music related stuff, but it's got to have it's a movie database.
I see.
So unless you're actually a soundtrack official, which you are credited for that, I believe. Maybe not actually. Probably just the band on Catch-22. Anyways, this is gonna be a long episode, guys. We got to focus. We got to focus.
Whoa.
we got a lot to do today.
Get worse from here. So
we got a lot to do today. Emulation disclosure, so you know the tools with which we undertook this fucking painful experience. I emulated on my PC via the Nostopia Core on RetroArch, NES Advantage, NES just regular controller. I didn't use my Advantage for this. Piped in via my trusty USB adapter. Jay, how did you play?
I played the exact same way on my laptop.
Jab, you didn't play this with fucking
NES.
Jab, you didn't play with fucking keyboard controls, did you? That's insane.
Yeah, I did on NES-topia.
Oh,
you
man.
fucking
it really wasn't that actually. It wasn't that.
You
big.
animal.
I almost got. We'll talk about it.
Animal. That upsets me a great deal. I can't even imagine.
You don't even know the half of it. I am.
Well, please rate and review the podcast if you like listening to us talk about horrific 8-bit gaming experiences or any other shit we babble about. Be part of the ISOH movement. Give us validation on your podcast platform of choice in the form of a rating and review, and we will read it here on the pod. What are we jamming on now? Jab, do you even remember? I don't know. The last time I asked you what you were playing, I don't even know. I don't even know when that would have been, but I'm excited to hear, Jab, what you're playing now.
Oh, God, I forgot that we did this, yeah.
Yeah, other than Deadly Towers, of course.
Yeah, other than Deadly Towers. What am I playing? Oh, yeah, I'm playing, I'm currently playing Tale of Two Wastelands my buddy, he really did me I guess I did him a solid, but as payment for watching his house back last summer, he installed Tale of Two Wastelands on my computer. Did a hell of a job too. So it's a combination of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas all into one game with some quality of life and like graphical improvements.
How the fuck do you traverse between Washington D.C. and the wasteland in Nevada?
So you get that teleport gun from the Old World Blues DLC from Vegas. Eventually, when you do it. Other than that, you start the game in Fallout 3 in the vault. You get to thankfully skip the fucking hour and a half long growing up bullshit. And then you get out and you're just in Fallout 3, and then eventually you have to find somewhere a location and complete a little quest to get out to Vegas. And then once you get there, I can't remember. I think you might be able to just take the train back. But once you do the Old World Blues and you get that teleport gun, it just takes you wherever you need to go. So,
okay. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Do they have the NYC mod? Have you fucked with that? That's got to exist by now.
Not yet.
I
haven't done that or the London one.
Okay. Yeah, that would be pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
Baldur's Gate here and there.
You beat it, right?
Yeah, me and my buddies beat it in December.
I can't.
Nice.
I can't bring myself to play it. I'm so tired of it.
It's weird. You know what? Like, okay, so hot take.
Quite the turnaround from
hot
previous.
take time.
It's the greatest.
It's just such a chore, man. It's just I'm in the third act, and it's just such a chore.
It's a lot sometimes. But I'll say this: everything that game does, outside of like the fact that literally all of their systems work, that's very well done. But everything that game does, Final Fantasy Tactics does better and did it earlier.
Interesting.
It's the same fucking game.
I don't remember Final Fantasy Tactics well enough to, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I've already, Jay, you've already heard this spiel, but that's the thing I applaud it most for is that there is no limit. If you can think of it in a video game context, anyways, you can pretty much do it in that game. And there is no game I've ever seen or played that's ever come close to that level of like, there's just so many little things like finding out. Like, I think I told you about this, Jay, you've definitely heard it. But when I first started playing and like I encountered that big spider in that cave early on, and like I just pushed it off the fucking ledge, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like that was fucking
loud, right?
Yeah, right. That's possible and loud, yes. And like that shit, like that's obviously the most minute example, battle-based stuff. But like if you don't have to, almost don't have to fight at all if you really want to go to full role-playing lengths in that game. There's just so much. There's just so much to it, and that is so commendable, but it's also so exhausting.
It's truly exhausting. And like, I was going to say something about that game. Now I can't quite remember what the hell it was.
So pretty much that game has to be the game you're playing. Like
I think so.
You're spending your time in.
To pop in and pop out is actually really tricky.
Really tough. Yeah, man. Really tough. And yeah, it's just really tough. Like I said, we're in the third act, and like every time I pick it up, the past few times I've been kind of like, ooh, and like, I'm like, we're making progress, and like, it's not like I'm stuck on some dumb shit or something. It's just like, I don't know. I just don't. When I think about playing it, when it gets brought up as a possibility, I'm like, I'd rather do something else. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's a commitment, but also a fantastic game. It's just, it's crazy.
Yep. Is that it?
Baldur's Gate, Tale of Two Wastelands. I throw on some Master of Orion 2 every once in a while. I'm trying to like play faster games and with a slightly higher difficulty. I'm playing on hard now with like 5 opponents in a large thing, and it's making me work for it. So Master of Orion 2, and I think that's about it.
I can't believe I haven't tried to get that going.
I think you would have to do it with a mod. I think you'd have to do it with a mod that's like quality of life instead. It's very micromanaging, and it's actually kind of a pain in the dick.
Right, that's what I remember about it. But I mean, I've tried even the first one. I can't. the novelty of it is cool, but like it's
a
not
lot
something.
of fucking planets to manage, even if it's not micromanage. It is a lot.
Yeah. Well, Jay, what about you, buddy?
Man, Mortal Kombat 1. Like, I finally picked it up. I was going to pick it up as soon as it was released, but Starfield dropped and life happened, blah, blah, blah. But finally got it. It's a continuation of Mortal Kombat 11. The story is so good, I'm not going to spoil anything, but, traditional Mortal Kombat stuff that you would expect.
Have you emailed them
basically
to explain to them that 1 doesn't come after 11?
Again, if you played 11, you would understand why 1 is titled 1. So leave it at that. It's great. You're killing people, you're ripping heads off, you're slashing. There's so much, but at the same time, it's very cinematic. So it's extremely well done. It is the thing, in my opinion, that sets it apart from games like Tekken and Street Fighter 6 that are also great fighting games. It's just a story.
I've heard this before, that people are like, I can't even remember who I was talking to about it. It must have been like a bar conversation or something. But I imagine the conversation went something like, "Oh, what games do you play?" And I'm like, "I play Master of Orion 2 because I'm a fucking loser stuck in 1996." And then they're like, "Cool, I play like modern games that actually just came out, like fighting games." And I'm like, "Well, I never do that." And they're like, "Well, Mortal Kombat's the shit." And I'm like, "How could it be any different than any other fighting game?" And they always say the story.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. I never thought of it like that at first, because like when it first came out, it was not like that. It was the blood, fatalities. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. But from, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, it's really been the story for me, 100%. And now it continued that. So I actually completed the story already. And, and now I'm moving on to other modes, not unlocking the fatalities, but exploring them and doing all the other fun stuff and really just trying to get good so I can play against other people online. But
nice. Oh, God, excellent. That sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Oh, no.
That's every time, yeah. Fucking online multi of fighting games. I just can't think of anything. Like, I want to do less.
Well, unless you guys want to come and go, unless you guys want to come to Seattle and hang out and like sit on the couch and play with me, like that's what I'm gonna do. Like,
honestly, that almost seems preferable. Josh, do you remember we bought? I'm sorry to hijack your moment for a Josh and Jeff story. But do you remember there was that? I can't remember. You're going to know it because you're better at this. Well, you're older, so you're cheating. But there was that general store across the trailer park that I grew up in. Do you know what that was called?
I don't know the name of the store, but I know the little strip there that had that diner. The fuck was the name of that diner?
Farmer Boy.
Farmer Boy, yeah. Farmer Boy, yeah.
Yeah, and the other name was like some like colloquial silly thing too. But I think we were in there, at least I was, and one of two things happened. Either, I think I know which one it was. Either we bought the magazine that like...
We used to get tons of magazines from there, for sure.
Okay,
That's probably where we got most of our magazines, I feel like.
I'm glad we synced up on that.
I can picture standing there reading Mad magazines and folding the things.
And the door's behind you. It's to your right if you look in the magazines, and then the register's over there.
Right.
And anyways, we either bought the magazine and it had the blood code torn out of it for Mortal Kombat.
Oh my God, this does, dude. What you're describing right now is how I got my first Sega Visions. I think. Okay. I think you're describing how I got my first Sega Visions. Yep. And I had forgotten that is where I had gotten it. But I do have some vague. That is like, I mean, I can't. It's not a visceral thing. It's not a visceral thing. That,
or we tore the blood code out.
Right.
So
I think that.
You took the blood code.
Yeah, that is what because I feel like I feel, and I could. Here's the thing, Jab. Do you remember? I'm so crazy. I'm such a psychopath. Do you remember? There's no way you do. I had this like file box. And I don't know. I feel like I might have at one point kept like G.I. Joe dossier, the cards on the back of the fucking packaging, that looked like file card. I feel like I might have kept those in this at one point. But anyways, I had this file box. And when I first was moving into my Genesis era, and I got that Madden 92 copy used from Video Game Exchange with all those Nintendo games before I even had the Genesis for Christmas. And like I kept the Madden in that box with like Genesis stuff that I had accumulated. I'm pretty sure I kept that Mortal Kombat rip-out code in that box. And I can picture it being in some kind of like filing system.
Okay, there you go.
Of course. That is necessary information, man.
Essential. Yeah, and I don't even, because I got my Genesis kind of late, so Mortal Kombat might have even been out already.
Dude, do you remember the Mortal Kombat? Just very briefly, we won't stay here very long, but like, this is the fucking crazy. You're such a psychopath. I got Mortal Kombat for Christmas in like '94, and you made me have them return it, and I got a different game, and I can't
believe they listened. Like, what was the structure of like? I must have you. There had to have been like, how do you convince them to do that? You know what I mean? Like, what I must have.
What's fucked up is like I would have asked for it. So like, what am I going to say?
Right,
like,
that's what I'm saying. But here's what I'm saying. Right, but what I'm saying is I would have had to orchestrate some kind of grand plan that involved the way in which you proposed this.
Like you must have either already had it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I already had it for sure because I got it. And you got Street Fighter 2, I think, or maybe that's why you got Street Fighter 2. I don't recall exactly, but yeah, that was the thing that I had and wanted, and you weren't allowed to have any of the stuff I had. That's why you're not a Bills fan.
That's why I'm not a Bills fan. I'm fucking glad for that. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I'd so much rather be a Titans fan.
Anything else, Jay?
Really just Call of Duty, doing some more zombies. Although I think we've done most of the fun things in zombies mode now, so I think I'm pretty much done with, do it from time to time. I'm pretty much done with that. And then I've been playing also a little bit of Bluey, the video game. Do you know who Bluey is? Little blue dog. I had no idea either. Apparently, it's a huge...
Yeah, my friends' kids are kind of into Bluey, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a game. It came out like on Xbox, and because my 5-year-old, I figured he's like, oh yeah, he would love to play that game. So we started playing that together. It's a very cute, basically, if you're a parent, if you're our age, if you're a parent of a child who has any affinity for Bluey and for video games, you'll have a good time. Bottom line.
What's the structure of it though? Is it, this is what I think would be brilliant, is what I want you to say. I want your answer to this question to be that they designed a video game kind of in the same way that Mario Odyssey did, where you have the character, like your kid can be the hat, and like what they're doing doesn't fucking matter, but they are playing. Yeah.
No, because I feel like there's too much of that actually. Like Nintendo, like on the Switch, I feel like too many games are like that. Like there's enough of that where it's like, okay, I get it. Like my kids actually were playing Mario Odyssey yesterday. They actually enjoy that. But this is actually not like that. This is more of they clearly made this for like that, for like, I don't know, 3 to 6 year old kind of range, where I don't even want to say it's open world. It's kind of like 3D, as if you were a beat 'em up, but clearly you're not a beat 'em up. You're just walking around like this house, and you're the family. Bluey is a dog, and you're like the family of dogs. So you can be like the mom, the dad, brother, sister, call it. And you're moving around just like, oh, we're doing a treasure hunt. We got to find items. And you're just walking around the house together, and they kind of like light up, and you're searching for them. And so you can easily say, oh, Ezra, do you see that? You see the item over there? And he can like move up and grab it. So, it's very co-op, but like, you're not fighting or anything like that. So there's no need to kind of like lead. It's more of just, and it actually has some great graphics. So we're moving around the house together like, oh, you want to go down? You want to go left? So it's very well done in a way that I didn't feel the need to like, oh, let me drag you along like I would for one of those other games. So. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That like to do it well enough to not feel like, it's either a burden or nerfed to the point of like, not actually going to hold their attention, Finding that balance between the two, I think, is a really 100% impressive accomplishment.
100%. And that's it, man. What about you? What are these pyramids? What is this?
Before I get to that, I'm still playing Asgard's Wrath 2, of course. I'm fucking getting pretty close to the end, I feel. I'm trying to 100% this shit, so there's like a few I keep going back and like, dude, there's like this incentive. It has that. It's part of why it's addictive and why the first one and this one have like really roped me in is because it's got an incredible like character development loop, like resource acquisition, crafting fucking thing going on that keeps me from like just plowing through the story, you know. So still doing that, but nothing really all that interesting to report. I mentioned I had like a little bit left in my power wash simulator. Jab, have I talked to you about this? Have you tried Power Wash Simulator yet?
For whatever reason, when you said that, my ears didn't perk up, so maybe you did mention it, but I imagine you're going to expound on that a bit here.
A little bit, yeah, but it's kind of, I mean, this is, I'm playing in VR. That's a relatively new thing, but it's been out on flat screens for a while. And it kind of was like it's a thing. And it was a huge thing when it first hit, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, you know, with not fucking Call of Duty or something, but like, it was definitely there's just a lot of chat everywhere because you're fucking power washing. Like, you're washing things. It's like
you're keep waiting for the other shoe to drop here.
Right?
It's
yeah.
so
No.
satisfying. It's just
Yeah. But it is so satisfying to do to do. I don't know. Calling it play is like seems like errant terminology.
I have a power washer, and I have something like the north side of my house obviously needs power wash. So yeah, just power washing things in real life is satisfying. I can imagine a video game giving a similar sensation. So good. And you of course you like power wash extravagant things too, you know. It starts you're like running a power wash business, and like, you know, your van shows up and you'll do you're probably doing like sidewalks and shit, and then you end up doing like the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, that's a great, you know.
Okay.
They haven't done that yet, but they should.
That one's free.
But shit like that, yes, for sure. Like there's like, you know, I had to do a UFO at one point. I had to do like fucking all sorts of crazy ass monuments and shit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, wildly satisfying. The latest one, and like I said, it's at the end of the career mode, so I'm like super close to 100%. I can't imagine there's something at this. I feel like this has got to be the boss per se, but it is this Egyptian palace. It's fucking insane, dudes. I mean, we're talking like, this is what I've already logged. Probably 6 or 7 play sessions of significant length. I mean, I want to say, and I'm soloing it, and you can do multiplayer too, which is cool. Like Amy and I can go in and wash each other. It only like, you know, you're working on their career mode when you're over there, so it's a little bit of a wasted time as far as like development on your bullshit goes. But it's the same soothing activity, so you know, whatever. And it's just cool to be in the space together. It's not a bad. It's nice casual.
Oh, you guys are both in the VR together. That's cool.
Yes, for sure. Yeah,
that's cool.
So because it's such a big job, and she's also on it in her career mode, like we're not working on each other. We're like just doing our own. So I've soloed this full thing, and I've probably put in like 5 hours on this already, 4 or 5 hours easy, and it's not anywhere near done. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's gotta be the last job. If I finish this, and it shows me something
else,
and there shows me something bigger, I'm gonna shit myself. I'll be happy because I don't want it to be over, right. But it'll blow my mind if they've made a job bigger than this. It's just so crazy though how much time, and it's just so satisfying, and like the drive you have to keep going is crazy. It's Civ-like, which funny enough is, you know, that one more turn vibe is definitely there. Which is not, instead of one more turn, it's just one more side of this fucking pillar.
Finish this up and then I'll be good to go.
Nope. Because when you're doing that, you're gonna spray off a little bit of something over here.
I knew you were gonna say that. And then I hit this tile on the floor, and it's like, well, I'm not.
Might as well do that.
Yeah.
Can't leave that just half done like that.
I'll do 1/4 of the floor, but then it's 1/4 of the floor, and you're not gonna leave. Yeah.
Can't leave that. That would be insane. So yeah, it's still going on that. So the thing behind me is for puzzling places, which I very briefly might have talked about, Jay, but it's basically a 3D puzzle app, and you know, they take 3D models of things and they bust them up into, you can pick the number of pieces, 400, 200, 150, even out of 25, I think, if you're, I don't know why you would want to do that low, but it busts these things up. And I bought the app God knows how long ago, and it's great. It's super, you can play it in pass-through mode, which is Jab. It's like, it basically puts you in the room. You know, the new headset allows you. You don't have. It's like you just sit on the couch and you can see everything in your room, and there's just puzzle pieces everywhere, and you can just sit there. So I don't even need to be in immersive mode for it. I can play it pass through. No, the fucking. You can see Miyagi walking around, buy the pieces and stuff, and pet him, and it's super, super relaxing, chill thing to do. And they'll drop free new puzzles every now and again, but it's pretty seldom, which is maybe part of why I've definitely done all of them, all the free ones. So I don't, for that reason, I don't do it a ton, and I've never bought anything from them, even though I've said out loud I should, because it's such an incredible job with an app. And for whatever reason, they dropped this mosque one not too long ago, and it was like fucking incredibly difficult. So I'd gotten again, I don't know how many hours fucking putting that together, and I just finished last night. But while I was doing that, I was like, I got to get these motherfuckers some money. So the one I talked about, I remember talking to you about, Jay, was the Egyptian pack, and they have like it's like $6 and you get, I think, 4 or 5 puzzles, and it's the pyramids, the Sphinx, inside of a pyramid, and then something else. And yeah, I'm fucking working on that Egyptian one right now, or started it last night, and it's so like, again, same thing. It's the same exact whatever is wrong with me and a lot of human beings, not just me, that like satisfying of like tedious activity. It makes this little noise when you snap a puzzle together, when you snap them two together, that is like way satisfying. And then also, as you build the puzzle, and like there's no way it's a broad enough and there's enough different ones to not be able to discern the math real time. But as you like either like put certain pieces together or like finish a certain part of it or something, it does also extra little just super satisfying things that are the same vein as that little click sound, of just like auditory rewards for your perseverance and effort. It's just so satisfying and relaxing. A great fucking thing. So playing plenty of that. And then the last thing, fucking on the Civ 2 topics, we got for some reason, we didn't want to play Baldur's Gate, actually. I think that was the incentive. We fired up Civ 2 last night for the first time in God knows how long. Yes. Or not 2. I apologize. Civ 6.
Good God. I can't wait to hear this story.
Yeah, that's a good response. I don't know why. I did too.
I know why. It's because this is the first one. If that makes sense.
Right, and it should be. It is. It's not technically, but it should be. So we fucking, and whatever. We got on some hardcore up till like 2 o'clock last night, up way later than I anticipated. The plan was at like 12:45. I'm like, okay, 10 more turns, we're going to bed. Yeah, got to record in the morning. Can't be up fucking on till sunrise. And then right after that, I get surprise attacked by the Macedonians. They fucking first they take one of the city-states that I'm suzerain of. Is that how you say that word? Suzerain? Suzerain? I don't know. But
I'm not sure.
One of the ones, by the way? I am the Persians. And yes, they take this city-state that I'm aligned with, that's right on my border, to like create like a good staging point. And I saw it coming, and I'm like, are these motherfuckers serious? Like I can, and then, so I guess I shouldn't say it was a total surprise, but like, I don't know. Sometimes they'll do shit like that, and not actually invade. So I don't know. I didn't take them seriously, I guess. And they just fucking, they got that shit and then fucking kind of got their shit together and then fucking just poured onto one of my cities. And I was like, you can't just go to bed.
I'd be so fucking stressed out. Yeah.
You cannot just go to bed after getting invaded fucking out of nowhere by the fucking Macedonians. So yeah, so now I'm up till like 2 a.m. dealing with that, and fucking I was able to fend off that offensive, and they are now they just at the retreat was enough of like a break point that I
push them back. I'll finish the rest later.
Exactly, but yeah, when I pick that shit up later tonight, there will be some consequences and repercussions.
The Achaemenid Persian Empire probably said that themselves in real life when Alexander invaded. Like, you know what? One of these days we'll get this motherfucker.
That's exactly who it is. Alexander was who it was.
He was a bad motherfucker.
Castle Hall theme, bringing us into this next segment.
Much like I felt like the dramatic weight of the beginning of this video game was enough in line with the dramatic weight of Dragon Warrior 2, the prologue they gave us for that, where I adapted a teleplay from it. I thought that the weight of this one and the magnitude of the story of this video game warranted the same level of attention. So I adapted the prologue that they give to you as kind of a Star Wars scroll at the beginning of the game. And for this, Jay will play the role of Prince Meyer, Jab will play both the Oracle and the King, and I will be the narrator. So let me fire up the prologue theme, and let us begin. Internal podcasting dungeon, dark, dark night. This is an old story from the Stone and Copper Ages, where there lived men and devils. As the coming-of-age ceremony approached, Prince Meyer grew nervous, for the day would be a memorable time in which he would succeed to the throne of the Kingdom of Wilner. In his worrying about the kingdom of the future, he took himself over by the lake near the castle to think. Suddenly, reflecting the moonlight, a shadow arose from the lake. As the prince stared at it, it gradually changed into a man.
Prince Meyer, light of virtue, it is time for you to light up the darkness. Rubus, the horrid devil of darkness, is plotting to extend his power over your kingdom. He is viciously scheming to build a castle on the northern mountain, to ring magic bells, to lure monsters out at your defenses, and to invade the kingdom in a single stroke. If you wish to be forever at peace in the kingdom of Wilner, you must journey to the northern mountain and burn down the 7 bell towers in the devil's castle with the sacred flame. Prince Meyer, only you can accomplish this feat. Go to the mountain, burn down the 7 towers, defend the kingdom against the devil.
With that, the shadow grew mistier, lost its shape, and finally disappeared, leaving the beautiful lake as though untouched.
Could it be an oracle?
He fell deep into thought for a moment, but immediately regained his senses. He had remembered the legend of Khan.
The legend says that at the time when God's image appears from the lake, a great power will be given to a young man to defeat the devil of darkness and restore peace to the kingdom.
Hurrying back to the castle, the prince told the king of the strange event.
I believe in the truth of this matter. I order you, dear Prince Meyer, to destroy Rubus and all of his dark ways.
There you go. That is the story of Deadly Towers. And, Jab, did they mention it all in there what you're supposed to do with the bells?
What's the next segment?
What kind of game is this, Jay?
Oh my gosh.
A miserable one. That's what the fuck kind of game it is.
I mean, it's technically like an action RPG. You know, I'd say action RPG. It's definitely actiony.
Yeah,
but I was also grinding. I was also grinding at one point for sure. So, you know, I'd say action RPG.
Okay.
I like that assessment.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put it. If you got to put it in some kind of box, I guess that's the box. But it probably deserves its own box.
6/7. Come on. Wow.
So it was developed by one Lenar Company Limited, and this outfit somehow managed to stay afloat for at least 11 years, as their Moby gamography spans from 86 to 97, despite only sputtering out 9 titles over that duration. There are 2 NES games, 4 Game Boy, 1 TurboGrafx 16, and 2 SNES titles, none of which I'd ever heard of other than Deadly Towers, and that's only because of how infamous it is. So they do not exactly have a storied gamography, but they do have one nonetheless. And the game was published December 15th, 1986 by Irem in Japan, and Broderbund brought it stateside in September of 87. So the cover art is a very Conan-looking motherfucker staring us down in an oil illustration that takes up a little more than the top half of the cover. And this cat's got a double horn helmet, an absolute mane of fire orange hair blowing the wind out of it. He's got his sword drawn and ready for battle, shield slung across his back. He's got white fur covering his junk and adorning the knee-high boots. So this dude is ready to party for sure.
Basically, they would have loved Arnold to be this guy.
Oh, 100%.
Like they were like, this is him.
Absolutely an influence.
Like,
yes. And the individual that you control in the game cannot possibly be this dude.
Not at all. Some little cute dude with a little helmet on.
Yeah, cannot be this dude. I mean, I guess he does have the double horn helmet, so maybe that. But other than that, like, where's this fur covered junk?
Right? I never had that. I never found armor at all, so I was running out.
Maybe we were. But yeah, the avatar should reflect this. A green tail pokes up behind him to his right, our left, and the underside of the body of a large green-scaled creature can be seen on the other side of him. And I think this is all to suggest, along with his like one knee up stance that he's in, that he's standing upon a slain dragon, and that's pretty cool, I think. And sometimes with these fantasy art box cover deals, you can find the original illustration and in turn the artist of them. This was not one of those cases, unfortunately. I was hoping that this would be like, I'm spacing on his name right now, but that guy that we've done a bunch of box covers. They did the Swords and Serpents one and all those. I was hoping it would be one of those kind of like really storied fantasy artists because it looks like it could be. Not the case though. At least that was the internet, as far as the internet knows. And there's also a burning orange sky and 7 skinny towers clumped uncomfortably together in the background. And so I'm looking at this and I definitely had a moment of like, did these motherfuckers really 1, 2, 3, 4? Like, are there really 7 there?
I feel like somebody was trying to draw like just a tower with like little castle spikes at the top. And it just happened to happen.
No, I
give them that much credit.
I wanted to give them the credit. There's deliberate, like they paid attention and made sure it reflected the story. I want to give them that credit.
I don't know, man. Look. I'll ask you this. Looking at this artwork, do you get the sense that this dude is going to take his sword and be throwing it at bats and stuff? Like,
no, I'm not saying, no, they never are going to reflect to that level of,
I know.
of my douche.
I'm just saying, like, looking at this artwork in the game, what a difference, man. Great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm in. I would have been very tricked if I had my
yeah. Especially in 86, your other or 87, I guess, in the US, your other opportunities in the Toys R Us aisle, this probably looks pretty good.
I've played Mario all I could. Like, what else?
I had that thought myself. I was like, what's fucked up about this game is how insidious it is. Because if I was a kid and I saw a screenshot or this cover, I want that.
Yeah,
like this is close enough to the other shit that I play and I'm interested in that like it's not close enough. It is, I guess it is actually, but yeah, I would have been sad.
Insidious is a great adjective for this video game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of
it's a very insidious game. If you ask me.
Yeah, there's a lot happening below the current. So the bottom half is a solid purple. Deadly Towers written in black font that makes sense, and it's labeled as part of Broderbund's adventure series at the bottom. I don't know. I guess I didn't do the research to find out what else is in their adventure series, but I'm hesitant to even do so, even thinking of it now.
There was no reason to do any more research there. I can tell you, there's nothing to be found. Deadly Towers was the best-selling title among Broderbund's like initial NES games, and just
when I think of Broderbund, I think of Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. That's what Broderbund it is to me. And obviously, that's not the NES. Well, I think they eventually did have some NES games.
Did they do that?
Yeah,
they did do that game. I used to play it, and I loved it because I like geography a lot. So
yeah, that was fucking. I've definitely told it on the pod before, but the gifted and talented class at OB, man, Mr. Mimit, we would sit down and those fucking. The nerds would fight over the encyclopedias and shit. It was fucking like crack to us. Yeah, as far as gifted and talented group activities go.
I was right there with you. Actually, have I told the story before? Have I told you this story before where you talked me out of Mr. Mehmet's class? I think I've told you this.
I don't.
I
remember doing that. Now that you say it, because I still feel that way. But
I think in the end it was probably a good thing that I didn't. Maybe I don't know. Probably. But yeah, you definitely talked me out of that for whatever reason.
Did I demand?
I don't know about it. I mean, I don't know. You're a big brother, so like every request is backed by a threat of violence. it's implicit, but
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the logic was or how it was enacted. I think I was kind of like on board with it too. I was like,
yeah, I mean, I was
class, like I could do this, and you were like, don't do that, and I was like, fuck it.
Yeah, I was skipping them. Me and the other delinquent in the class, Andy Vandersemen, were skipping.
Hmm.
We would like, because they would just like go on the PA and like school wide. This is kind of wild if you think about it. School wide, which is why everyone hated the fucking gifted and talented kids.
Yeah.
They would go on the PA system for the whole school. And just like in the middle of the day, everyone else is just in class having a normal ass fucking day. And, they're not in the program, so they don't know the day or anything. To them, it's just like a random occurrence. Yeah. And they would go on the PA and just be like, hey, and I'm sure they called it that. I can't remember obviously the exact fucking what they said, but I'm sure it said something like that. Like, the gifted and talented kids, you can leave class and just go fucking do some other shit.
What?
And then you could just leave and no one like chaperoned you or anything. You just left.
Yeah.
And me and Andy Vandersemen figured out that we could, when they did this, just not go to Mr. Memmon's class, but leave class and this is, I'm in fourth grade.
What are you doing in fourth? Like, what are you even doing?
I remember just wandering the halls and like, who knows doing? I don't even know. And like, no one, why kids aren't supposed to be in the hall? Well, who knows? I don't fucking know. I don't know. I feel like we might have went outside the one time. I don't even remember, man. I don't know. But I definitely a ways into it started skipping it because fuck this.
It was weird. I think I'd seen it a couple times, and I was like, I could easily be convinced to not do this. So it seems that Broderbund also did Myst.
Did they?
That's what it says. Names a bunch. Prince of Persia, actually.
Yeah, they did Prince of Persia. Yeah, no, on the PC they did a bunch of games. Yeah, they were a big deal on the PC for sure, and did a lot of great titles. On the NES though, I don't think there was a
Prince
ton.
of Persia, Carmen Sandiego, and Myst. Yep.
Yeah. I feel like Myst was because Myst is Cyan, and I mean, maybe they could have published it.
Published by Broderbund.
Huh. Interesting. The back of the box has 3 screenshots that don't do anything to get my biscuits burning, frankly. A considerably abridged iteration of the synopsis we already read is here as well, but it wraps up with something kind of interesting that says, "You'll need every ounce of help you can get, for you are all that stands between your people and the forces of darkness." And this I concur with. You do need every ounce of help you can get.
I sure did.
Yep. There are 3 bullet points intended to close you on this purchase in the Toys R Us aisle that are etched here as well. Arcade action with role-playing game depth, state-of-the-art graphics and music, and then special password system allows players to continue a game in progress. And those are all bold claims, Broderbund. Now step forward and be judged in the court of King Lorik. Mm-hmm. The manual is 24 pages, color covers, black and white innards, no art on the cover, just solid purple with the title up top. Pages 3 to 4 have the controls breakdown, and this is notable, or what was notable here to me rather, was seeing the B button had no in-play function whatsoever. Like an action-adventure game where I'm not even going to use the B button. Mm-hmm. Scary.
Yeah. I don't know what I wanted. I'll say it later.
Okay. The only thing you use the B button for in the entire game is to throw items away from the items from the subscreen, the inventory subscreen. So pages 5, 6, 7 are under the heading "How to Understand the Screen." So that's just a lot of that. Like, it's not bad translation. It's like overly.
I mean, it's just basic.
Overly basic. Yeah, I guess is maybe the word. The way, there's a lot of that in here. The second of these is on the shop screens, where we get some insight into the economic machinations of the Kingdom of Wildner, and their currency is called the Lutter. And seeing that they had their own form of currency, set fire to my economic analysis loins. So burn, God. Baby, burn. We will revisit that here in a bit.
I forgot that was a thing.
It's like so hit or miss. It's like I've done probably, I don't know. I'm saying I'm probably overall at like a 33, somewhere between 33 and 40-ish% on like when I do economic analyses. It's tough. Like there's some of them that there's only it's a lot of them.
You only
just
have
don't
so much to work from.
Yeah, but this one definitely. This one gave me a good one. And it's not that long either, so you guys won't even fall asleep like normal.
Okay.
The third is on inventory subscreen, and there's a handful of bullet points here. I found of note there is a box labeled Bell that displays the bells that Prince Meyer has removed from the towers you are tasked with doing this in. And then it explains that when you burn a tower down, a flame replaces the bell. Do you got that, Jab?
Huh?
Yeah. Defense and attack boxes display what suggests a range of helmets, shields, armors, swords, shooting weapons, and gloves. And I love me some medieval fantasy equipment development trees, so I was excited to see that. Page 8 is a really cool faded sepia tone illustration of the Seven Towers region. This is what's behind me right now. They've labeled the starting point and 7 other POIs that I was presuming would be a relatively linear path this game would take us on. And that would prove to be an incorrect presumption.
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah. So, I mean, after playing this game...
Misleading artwork.
I mean, I don't know. That's the thing, though. It's a perfect... Again, Insidious is so perfect because it's like... You can look at it, experience it, and be totally befuddled, and then when you finish it, you're like, I guess that makes sense. Which like undermining your own reality. It does it so much to you, I think. Yeah, but I played the whole game, I looked at this again, and yeah, it's not wrong in its depiction of the game world. But I think something could have been done to better convey that the tower flow chart was a times 7 path, and that those are all reached by way of the underground area. Like, my real friction with this game, this is why I mentioned, Jab, when you were, struggling to get going there, get traction. I'm like, once you find the towers, it becomes a video game. Prior to that, it is this aimless, like, what the fuck is happening here? What is my purpose? Where am I going? I couldn't make heads or tails of what the fuck was going on.
Oh yeah, once I found the towers, I immediately felt like my brain obviously was prepped for it by what you had said already, but like my brain did have like the visceral reaction of like, oh cool, I'm playing a game now. I understand what's going on here.
Yep. I see the loop. I understand. Yeah, it's just it's a what in the ever living fuck am I doing here feeling. It's just such a hurdle to really getting going.
But even that is made worse by the dungeon stuff. Because on my playthrough, it's like I only found cool stuff first down in the dungeons. So even once I got to the tower and got my first bell and was like, oh, so this is what you do. It was like, but the cooler stuff though, like, do I got to go back down there again? So
right, but that's
it did not feel linear. It felt like I got to go fall into the trap again and go like
the trap. Yeah, that's how they feel for sure. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it becomes linear. I'm not at all saying that, which is probably to its credit. I think you don't want it to ever feel linear, especially a game like this. I think there should be some, they're trying, they don't have the format yet. They don't have Dragon Warrior yet. They don't have even Ultima yet. They don't have Final Fantasy yet. They don't have that format to work with, but they're trying to create it here of this open worldy, you got to figure out what it is thing. But the way the dungeons are presented and how, again, if you don't know, we'll get to those, but if you don't know all the way those work, you just don't know what you're doing for so long. And
no, they knew what they were doing. Per Ed Bernstein of Broderbund, in response to the difficulty level of the game, they said they did not find it difficult to play when testing it, and that they wanted a more challenging game compared to other.
Yeah, but that's again, they
wanted that.
But it's just them playing their own game. This is 1986, dude. Like they don't know how to properly test games and figure out that, not everyone is going to comprehend this rudimentary format in the same way that they are.
They wanted it to be more difficult.
They want it to be more difficult, but they don't want it to be impossible or everyone to say it's the worst video game ever. I guarantee you they didn't want that. They didn't want that.
You never know.
That's how they were going to avoid.
Even bad press is good press, Josh.
Yeah, maybe.
Josh, have you never done like an interview with somebody? This sounds like something you would have gotten into. Have you never done an interview with somebody who like was on a game development team? Like, because if they're just having like,
I interviewed. So
who's testing these games in this situation, like this early on?
No,
like,
that's
these teams. The code, like that's a huge problem because like
these teams, they don't have. These companies are, even Broderbund, which they didn't program it. Like I said, Linar Company programmed it. They don't no one is, just them. That's what I mean. They're like, it's a handful of people. They don't have any real money. These are startup companies as far as how we would think of them in present day. There isn't
This is what I'm imagining, yeah.
Right. There isn't one. So that's what I mean. You can't, especially if you don't have like a tried and true example to look at to map your process off of.
Yep.
Which, like I said, they did not, certainly at this time.
This game can be like Gauntlet-y. Like, I got Gauntlet vibes from it a little bit, but it's hard to... I don't know. It is a newer game for when it's released, and it's like, you don't really have anything to compare it to. It's brand new. Like, you probably fuck up too.
Right. So yeah, again, that's what and there's just, it's just, the whole, everything about it is just so like, emotionally torn in so many different directions. like it's, again, Insidious is great. So pages 9 to 10 are something I'm not sure we've ever seen in a game manual. Otherwise, it's just a random smattering of gameplay functions with explanations under the heading of how to play the game. And that's, again, just a perfect example of just like this super basic, here's information.
Figure it out. There you go.
Right. The lead-off bullet point is a very succinct summation of your objective in this game that has been danced around prior to this, but warrants internalizing explicitly. They say it very deliberately here. Your objective is to reach the 7 towers. Each tower has one bell that should be burnt by the holy flame. The bells are at the tops of the towers. After burning all the bells, you'll be able to open the entrance to the King of the Devil's Room. Jab, do you get that?
I really should have read this.
Collecting hit points and money, enemies will drop both, and you can find what are described as circle hearts that increase max HP up to 299. And I want to say I ended up with 230 when I finished the game. Do you guys recall what your final max HP was?
280. They were everywhere, man. They were freaking everywhere.
I think I was 232.
232 sounds right, for reasons we will discuss. Use caution in the parallel world. Sometimes an invisible entrance will take you to a parallel world. There will be only one exit to the world where you came from. Search all the areas of the castle carefully to find the parallel worlds. And yeah, I'm reading this, and I'm just like, what is this going to be?
If I had read this damn thing, I would have had the same reaction. Like, boy.
Big underground dungeons. Same as the parallel worlds, the entrances to the underground dungeons are invisible. Each dungeon consists of about 200 rooms, and each room has enemies. A few rooms in the dungeon have a magical pattern on the floor, which may be entrances to a shop, the exit of the dungeon, or just a good map marker. And in all bold text below that, we have secret rooms are hidden throughout the towers and castle. Search every area, by walking around the entire screen in each area. And that's so deliberate, and it's so true. But I spent the beginning of this game, I had no clue how to find a dungeon. I don't know. It's such a vague thing. This system of finding these different types of rooms, secret rooms, parallel worlds, and dungeons. That again, it's so explicit there.
Yeah,
but I still don't understand.
Well, I kind of understand because at the begining, I went past, when I first started the game.
Did you find that dungeon? I thought they were talking about that gated door, and I was like, this isn't a dungeon. What the fuck are you talking about? No. And walked back the other way.
I just kept walking past because I was like, I'm going to go past this first door I see. And I went and ran into the dungeon. And so when I ended up eventually dying down there and starting over, I was like, what if I go back to that same spot? Same spot, exactly into the dungeon again. Okay. So I was like, oh. Okay,
so yeah, we'll get more into that, but that's not how I first found a dungeon. So that made it all the more confusing. If that had worked out and it lined up with what I was told here, I might have had a very different understanding of how this world works. Whatever. So
that's why you're I don't understand how you're gonna get out without mapping. I was like, well, I can follow some of these markers, and I know to get here, I go here.
But that's identical. They're fucking all the. Man, we'll get there. But holy, get out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Doing anything with those dungeons without a map is insanity.
Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro.
And then another bullet point reads, burn the tower with the sacred flame. When you get the bell, go back to the underground and touch the holy flame. The bell will be thrown into the fire and the tower will burn. Jab! Do you understand?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mind?
4 pages of weapon armor item breakdowns after that, and then another 4 pages of enemy breakdowns follow those. There are little doodles to help you visualize and match up with in-game sprites here. And the enemies are broken up into phylums called races, and we will cover the items as we encounter them in our plays and do a side quest like Bestiary Annals segment to dive deep into a few monsters of each of our choosings as well. And at the bottom of all of these 8 pages, kind of like footnotes, are bullet points of tiny italicized text that are things that should be found in the helpful hints section at the end, actually, but they're just randomly fucking smattered throughout here. And there's a bunch of shit going on here, some of it kind of whatever, but plenty of things that I think are need to know. So to hit those real quick, when your item box on the inventory screen fills up, you cannot pick up new ones. You must manually pitch shit out if you want to make room. I never had this happen, but I can certainly see why this should be explicitly hammered into you. Is if you're like, how, I can't even imagine. My guess is that you pick it up and it's just not there. Which is how this game would do it for sure. So you need to like proactively be ready for that, but I never got to it, so I don't know for sure if it just stays there on the screen and you can't pick it up or what. I don't know, but you do have to manually throw shit out. If you want to collect the most powerful items, you must venture into all of the dungeons. It says, and this is not true. Thankfully,
what are we talking about?
Yeah, thankfully
that's why I still don't believe. I still question the number of dungeons right now, but yeah. There's one dungeon. One dungeon that you. Yeah.
Well, I badgered. This is the other thing I badgered about. And it's a perfect. It's just like the story I told offline about the TMT shit. The same kind of like everyone has their own theory and no one has facts. Conversation happened on our Facebook page about the dungeons,
dude.
When I was
we should just put our chat here, like that should be part of the episode of me. You're like, oh, dungeon 9, dungeon. I'm like, what do you mean number dungeon? It's one dungeon.
They are,
come
dude.
In and out.
There are 10 different dungeons, and you really only need to fuck with,
yeah.
in my opinion, one of them.
There's one dungeon, and you can get everything there. I don't know. I don't know what game you played. That was my experience.
Yeah. Another one reads, outside the castle and in the towers, there are important items hidden. Before you leave a tower with the bell, be sure to search for anything hidden. And this is so fucking true. So that is a good one to have here. Be careful when you are fighting near an entrance or an exit. If you get hit, you may be pushed into another area. And we don't give a shit if we design this game in an annoying and lazy way, stuck on our shit. That's what that means. Yeah. Just like, terrible, terrible, terrible. And oh yeah, dude. I mean, again, I haven't said it yet. I'm gonna save it till I have my spiels, but
then save it.
Yeah, it's just
then save it.
It's not a game. It's not a game. It's not a game.
Save it, and save it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that knocking you into like a different area is so fucking punitive, man.
Awful,
it's
awful,
brutal.
awful.
Sometimes you're like, wait. Did something even hit me? I just walked in the room.
Backwards.
Like what? The bat is like several squares
up my ass already.
Away from
infinite RNG.
There's
there's just no game we've ever played with more RNG. There's just not. Gosh. There's just not.
Yeah,
and that's
so much RNG. I've had. I guarantee I'm going to tell you some experiences I had, and you're going to be like, bullshit, that didn't happen.
No, Jay, listen to me. There's nothing you're going to say today that I won't believe. Except for you beating the game without Game Genie codes or the blue necklace. That's the only thing I won't believe.
Still things I've never even heard of. Things that don't exist.
Save it.
Oh my gosh.
A room where Black Bucks is around will have an item shop. And this, dude, Black Bucks is the last entry in the Devil Race portion of the Bestiary. And it's explained as being a large being that blocks entryways, spreads its wings, and pops off fireballs. And I was guessing that you'll need to like the reason this is by an item, like my interpretation of this was like, it's telling you that you're not gonna be able to kill that thing. You're gonna have to go into the item shop and there'll be an item that you can get that kills this thing. And that's kind of setting that idea up. But I played this whole fucking video game. I have no idea what the Black Bucks is. I don't know what they're talking about. I have no clue.
None. I concur. Never experienced that. I thought you were going to tell me that it blocked the entrance to some armor that I never.
Yeah, my guess is it's some. My best guess is it's a thing you encounter when you're coming back down the castle, mountain, overworld, whatever the fuck you want to call that beginning area to go to the end of the game. That's my best guess. Is it's one of those. I think there's two of them that you bump into and you just come out the fucking door on top of, which we'll talk about.
Oh, like vampire dragon.
Yeah, like, yeah, I
mean,
that was my best guess, but I played the whole game. I don't know what they're talking about, so that was of note to me. They say here that strong humanoid races are vulnerable to certain items, and that is kind of, because that is a very obscure item enemy interaction thing that does need to be set up. It's not explicit enough for anyone to get, and I'm sure you guys don't know what they're talking about, but I did enough fence testing where I did find this, but it's so opaque and vague that why even bother? But
I don't know about why bother. Let's maybe try a generous interpretation. This is some of the first times this shit has ever been done. Like,
sure.
How do you write a code?
And you know what?
That makes an enemy.
And here's the thing:
in real time,
what they're trying to match there is what we just rained praise upon Baldur's Gate 3 for, and what we're jamming on now is that they're trying to replicate this wide Dungeons and Dragons level,
which is a lot to consider,
right? And they don't even know that that's impossible right now. So I get it, but there's
this is a perfect time for me to say. I remember what I wanted to say about Baldur's Gate, and I just didn't. I was like, I'm not going to squeeze it in. It's unnatural. This is perfect, actually. What I was going to say about Baldur's Gate is, like, playing through it can also be tedious for us because literally, like, Final Fantasy 1 bug PTSD makes me believe that, like, none of this shit is actually, like, all these things that you program, none of these spells are going to work. Like, I'll use Eldritch Blast and, like, Hunger of Hadar, like, that works, but, like, nothing else is going to work. Friends isn't going to work. Like, Sleep's not going to work. So I just like find myself not using them,
right,
which makes the game even more tedious.
Right, not implementing all the systems that are available to you. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like the PTSD we got from shit like this that makes us like, I'm a fighter in Baldur's Gate. Guess what?
Perhaps. Yeah. I'm not though. Like I'm a Tiefling Ranger, and like I've really steered him into like thievery arts, and like I try to do a lot of the like subversive, avoid direct fucking, I try to.
Like, no joke, I don't do that shit because I don't believe it's gonna work.
Well, that's when Jay and I brought this up when he just started playing a couple episodes back, and that's like what I explained to him, like, don't, he's like, I'm battle mage, like, just fucking spells, kill. I'm like, you don't need to do that in this game, and I think it's more interesting if you don't.
Evidently, you do not need to.
Yeah. When you get a bell at the top of the tower and return to the underground, the entrance to the tower will disappear. And this is a furthering of the aforementioned bit about canvassing towers before you leave them. There is no going back. There is like, in the same level that Baldur's Gate is punitive and like, real world, we don't care. Like, if it dies, kind of thing. And like, that vibe is here with that mechanic in this game for sure. After you get the bell from a tower, the enemies in the tower and outside the tower may become more powerful. And then burning a bell will allow you to recover HP, but you can keep it and burn it later. So they're kind of like hidden heal potions, and that's a cool thing that like I really, I don't know, I liked a lot because it gave me, I felt like I had a lot of agency over that choice and like whether or not I could or would want to grind and keep that as an option. That's something I 100% like thought about, and that was a cool, to me, a little mini system that was.
Whatever. That thing was pure life-giving and necessary.
You said, yeah.
When it's like, oh my gosh, get through the bottom of the tower. Let me get to the.
You were sending screenshots, and I'm like, you don't have to do that, But I hear you.
Are you kidding me?
There were times where I did. I'm not saying I never did it, but I tried to not do it because that's my mentality with all these games. I'm always trying to like keep my chest of options full.
I will survive. That was my mantra for this game.
See, I like my dumbass, since I didn't read this, I just honestly, I thought that Flame just gave you your life back. I was like, oh, how convenient. Like, I'll just pick up like hearts and shit. Like, I'll just come back here. And, read. Like, it's funny. I've gone to school. I'm almost done. And, like, basically, I was thinking about the other day. I was like, you know what I actually majored in? I majored in reading data sheets. Like, because that's really what I do at the end of the day. And, like, if I had just read the data sheet here, like,
yeah, you'd have been a lot better off. Yeah, always read the manual on a fucking game like this. Like, going into this, like, I read every manual, of course, but like, reputation, what have you. Like, I'm not gonna go into this lacking anything. Like I said, I read it all. I thought I internalized it all. Yep, I still didn't understand a whole bunch of it. So yeah, there was no chance I was going into this without thorough.
this is one of the first times I read the full manual before even stepping foot in the game. And then I did not watch a playthrough. I did not listen to a
Me either.
I didn't want any kind of like,
Actually,
don't give me
I
any
knew nothing
aid. Let me just go in. You know, it was.
Let me experience it. Yeah, I mean, that's how I do it every time, of course.
What in the... Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, this being, like, the one time you're like, I actually read the manual. Like, it's like, oh, it seems like it doesn't super... Well, I guess a little bit, but, yeah, it's just... You don't know what you're getting into.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me? Every time I'm in the dungeon, I was like, what is this item again? Flipping back to the manual. What does this one do now that it's not blue, it's orange? Because I was planning on blue, but now that it's orange, my whole world has changed. Like, all my options are different.
And then wrapping shit up are pages 19 and 20 that are the official list of helpful hints. And the first is prioritizing the max HP, increase hearts. Duh.
Damn.
There are 4 battle tips that are the meat of this. You are warned that you can only fire one shot at a time without any sword power upgrades. So don't pop off attacks all willy-nilly is basically what it's saying. And
oh my gosh.
Man. And like the item you get, the power-up you get that changes this, I've never felt like I knew I was like
weak.
Limited.
Limited.
I knew I was being like there was a
like,
restriction to what it was, a restrictor plate to what it was, how I was interacting with these enemies when I only had that one fire thing. But I don't know if I've ever felt like a bigger. I never felt more powered up, I guess is really what I'm just simply saying. I've never felt a power up in a video game like, oh my god! This is so much better!
Must have been nice, fellas. Must have been nice.
Yeah, you didn't get that. Yeah, but I told you, fuck it. It's way better. Like that, the idea, I had the option to go to that double shot later, or not the double shot, but the parallel shot, and I've got it for like 2 seconds. I was like, no way. Who the fuck wants this?
Clearly, don't get me wrong. For me, the parallel shot over the regular shot.
Obviously, it's an incredible upgrade. Yes, for sure.
I would love to be able to shoot more than one. Much more rapidly.
And it's just one more. You say more than one, it's like, oh, he's gonna like. No, it's just one more. But holy fuck, is it a fucking huge upgrade? Holy fuck. And obviously, the speed thing too changes how quickly you can fire your fire rate. So just incredible. And that's that's something I did kind of like glean just from like vague, from a distance conversations and like the weakness you feel the weakness in the beginning of this video game. You feel it. It is fucking hard being that character in the beginning. And yes, they didn't do a good enough job of getting you there to start feeling that sooner, because a video game needs to have that beginning traction to make you feel it and keep you incentivized early. They didn't do that right, but they fucking definitely did give you the opportunity to feel powerful. And you spent too long not feeling that, but once you do feel it, it feels fucking good. They created that emotional response for sure. And I think that's one thing that you cannot knock about it. They didn't get it right, the whole fucking flowchart, but the end of the flowchart is fucking fire.
I would come back and say the fact that you can miss certain things. No, I think it's completely apt to knock it, because
that's a different system though. That's a different system.
But that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. The fact that like you can not experience that powerful feeling at all. Because for me, like I went into the first parallel world in the first tower. And the first one I went in, like the chalice or whatever was there. So I was like, oh, sweet chalice. Useless. I know, but like I did that and I'm like fighting through it. And I'm like, why do I even need this? I die and I'm like, I'm not going back in there. Screw that chalice.
Same.
But that's where the other shit was. So I just never, I beat it.
I got so lucky.
Like, really? Like, come on.
And I didn't look up shit, man. I didn't look up shit. I got so lucky in the first 2 towers I did, not having anything of real serious consequence to miss. Because, I found that first chalice one. That must be in a super stupid place you can't avoid or something.
It's like literally you're in the first beginning. So you're like, what? Yeah.
So, I found that one and didn't find any of the others until I'm in my 3rd tower. And I was like, oh, fuck. I haven't been looking for those. I hope I didn't fucking miss anything. And the 2 towers that I happened to have already finished off and couldn't go back into, of course, fortuitously were ones that I didn't need anything from. So if I could have very much been in your boat in that regard, if I hadn't gotten some lucky RNG, I suppose. The next thing is enemies freeze when you land a hit, and they tell you to use this opportunity to keep popping them in rapid succession as you walk towards them, and this is fucking everything for surviving in this game. Paralyzing them and then learning to close to increase your fire rate is 100% the like upper tier battle mechanic. That, and then the other one here that they utilize and master, the fact that you can both move and shoot in all 8 cardinal and intercardinal directions, and including in particular, I should say, well, not a kind of like sub thing of this is what you can do on ladders in the intercardinal directions, and that is definitely like the high level battle stuff you need to learn and get good at. Obviously, talking about bosses too, like you learn that's a critical part of boss battles as well. So yeah, that's a very important thing that I think is worth noting here as well. And they also tell you to learn the enemy's movement patterns. Duh, that's the case in every video game. And then all of page 20 is dedicated to giving a map-making tutorial for the dungeons, Jay, and providing you an example in the form of a map of the first dungeon. And this dungeon entrance is located on the very first screen of the game, they explain here, so they reiterate, or they mention that fact, and yeah, that's where I got this. I certainly read this page when I saw the fucking map, and you can tell it's going to be a shit show looking at this map, but other than that, I don't think it really, it does not set you up. They need to spend more time on these. Like the fact that it loops is, I guess they kind of want that to not be, I think they're trying to that, like that's not, they don't want you to sit down with a piece of graph paper. And
they do want you
to no, you're not, let me finish, Jay.
Okay.
Yes, they want you to sit down with graph paper, but they don't want you to sit down, which is what I ended up doing once I learned this, but I think it's the only way to make heads or tails of them. Once I knew that it was a 16, like that first map I make is a nightmare. Like I wandered to the which is why that first Maze 1 theme is like PTSD inducing, because you don't understand that you're looping and you're in rooms you've already been in. You don't have any comprehension of that. Once I knew it was a 16 by 16 thing, I sat down and I counted out fucking bricks, and I knew that I looped over, and then you can make sense of these fucking these dungeons in a much more consumable way. But without that knowledge, they are nightmares, because there's not enough discerning information in these motherfuckers to know that you've been here before at all. We'll get into more of that in a bit, but like that is a major lacking note that should have been on this fucking page in this manual, is that they loop. Okay, notable history and Game Genie codes that didn't make me feel like I was cheating. Jay, which one did you use at the end to beat the game?
So, GXSONPST. This was the only code I used, and I only used it to get from the bell to burn the tower after Tower 7, because I kept dying. I was like, oh my gosh, like I would make it through, and then I still would have like that last walk, and the freaking bats would hit me. Oh my gosh, over and over. I was like, I just can't do this. I can't do this. But with that code, you don't take any damage. So yeah. I definitely got there from there.
That is also the one I used.
Oh my gosh. So frustrating.
Oh, so you guys used cheats too?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Intermittently, and I will certainly specify the exact things and the incentive for them later on. But yes, I don't think...
This must have been a change in the episode formatting. Is this like you get... You just use them. If you use them, you just mention it.
Well, yeah.
Nice.
We're not.
That's fun. I like this actually.
Trying to use them. Yeah, yeah. Jay, that name came out of like Jay just said that by happenstance one time. Game Genie codes that didn't make me feel like I was cheating to use that, and I was like, oh, that's a fucking segment title right there. Yep,
I mean, it's true. It depends what episode we're doing, what game we're playing. When I'll
it has to fuck
let me look it up, and
I have to feel some bullshit. I have to feel like you're fucking me. No, you're fucking. You're not fucking me. I'm not getting fucked here.
And the fact that like at this point I had the freaking hyper helmet, I had a shield. I got I have stuff. I feel good.
Yeah, I'm not.
But I still haven't seen body armor ever. I'm like, this is some madness. Like, what are we even doing? So I think that is perfectly applicable and situational with this game.
Gotcha.
Word.
So is this where I would put in my mention of my cheat?
Like I said, it's you can, yeah. I guess tell us what it was. You don't have to give us the whole inroad to it. We'll talk about that in the gameplay. But
basically, if the cheat is to die as soon as you start. Like you go to the door and there's going to be
no, that's not that. No, this is a Game Genie code only.
Okay, I
we'll
wasn't
talk
sure
about
if it was
that.
all cheats or what.
Yeah, I have a segment, also a new segment that you are not familiar with. I don't think coming up next year. But any history worth talking about?
To me, I mean, we talked about it in multiple. I mean, we've made mention of this, but yeah, I mean, this really was like, according to Computer Gaming World, they described this game really as a new kind of game. They like blurred the game between action adventure game like Castlevania and then computer role playing games like It Shall Not Be Mentioned Ultima and like games like Wizardry and games like that I would never play. So to your point, yes, this was a new type of game. But all that really matters to me is the fact that multiple outlets said this was either quote unquote the most frustrating game on the NES and the most frustrating game of all time.
And are these
worst game of all time?
Are these testimonials from around the release, or are these like?
Oh yeah, I mean around the release. I mean years later, like in the early 2000s.
Sure, yeah, years later for sure. But I would be curious to know how vehement how scathing the criticism might have been at the exact time. You know?
I mean, it's funny though because at the time, this is early, like 1986. I didn't even have an
right. Well, exactly. There would have been so few like. Even outfits that would like
who even was looking at
criticize
this so
it, right?
early. Yeah.
So that's why it would be interesting to hear though.
Yeah, unfortunately there's not a whole lot of right when this released.
Yeah. Word.
It's all like 1990 and looking back and that kind of stuff.
Well, 1990 is close enough.
Oh, that's later.
Yeah, I just mean, but the fucking AVG and post 2000 crowd, of course.
Oh my gosh, immediately. Yeah, we're all like, what are we doing here?
Word. Well, I had one little nugget. As I mentioned in the opening, the working title on this was Hell's Bells, like Jerome pointed out, brought it to my attention. This information came to the internet by way of an email Alan Weiss, who was a producer at Broderbund at the time of this game happening. He sent it to Sean Baby after the infamous game troll, roasted the game and named it the single worst title on the NES. Again, speaking into that. And actually, I don't even, I've heard of the name Sean Baby a bunch of times. I've never read anything. I didn't know even, I assumed he was just a YouTuber. I had no idea who it was, even though I'd heard his name a million times. Or the name a million times. And anyways, he tells Sean Baby in this email, Alan Weiss does, it was originally titled Hell's Bells, but we couldn't use that. I produced the game, and it wasn't, and this is the verbatim, the email, and he bolded that, it wasn't that bad for the times. Some of the others are way worse. Nice to see it again, though. So, Alan saw Sean Baby roasting this in early internet days and, reached out. Tweeted us, tweeted him before you could tweet. And then Sean, and in perfect Twitter form, Sean quote tweets him basically and posts his email on the fucking website. Yeah, so there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. And on the topic of Alan, he would go on to work on a handful of other mid-RPG-ish games for the NES. He was a product manager on Legacy of the Wizard and Battle of Olympus, and those are we've seen those a ton of times in the Mag timeline. So he, had a legacy of sorts. I will caveat this professional criticism by saying he also had that role on Guardian Legend, though, which is a game that I kill quested and it was very good. Honestly, it's funny. I still feel all the things. All those games, and I can't even explain what it is exactly, but all those games have some sort of crudeness to them that this included, that I feel I can see it in all of them. I can't put my finger on exactly what is the root of it, but I feel his hand on all those games now that I hear those four grouped together, you know what I mean? Which is
Are you saying this is a narrative crudeness or a feel?
No, functional, like a coding crudeness.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next thing, and this is what I was referring to, Jab, we have a segment called Lunchroom Table Tip Eavesdrops. And this is basically its appearances in Nintendo Power to date in our timeline as far as the codes and shit go. And yes, it made a classified info appearance in issue number 3 of Nintendo Power, and it's a humdinger. Agent 705 gives us what he titles Start Out Strong and Powerful. And it's real simple. You start the game, you get whacked immediately. Not at all a hard fucking first step to achieve. And then you jot that password down that you're given, which you really don't even need to do, actually, which was interesting to me when I was fence testing this. But
very nice of them to do that.
Yes, very nice. But also, even that, they kind of fuck up and make stupid. Well, maybe that, but... Well, I'll get to it here in a second. But yeah, so you write down the password, and then you swap out the first two characters of that password with either FE or EF. He doesn't specify why, it doesn't matter, or what the difference might be. I just tried the first one to get it to work with FE. And then you start the game back up, and you enter that password. And it says that Prince Meyer will have powerful protection. And it further says, make Prince Meyer the strongest man in the land with a simple password switch. And they even misspell his name with an extra E here, so there's no attention to the game IP. Warranted. And yeah, so I tried this. The first time I tried, I didn't think to try it until late in my playthrough. So I die and try to do this when I fire it back up, and it didn't work. Like, I started the game anew, but it was just the normal, I just started the game new. Like, it didn't take me back to where I was supposed to be, or with this change, and I was like, what the fuck? So I fence tested it and restarted a thing, and if you have to do it from a clean start, I guess, like right at the beginning to make this work. And it does work like a charm, though. And yes, it sounds like, Jab, you enthusiastically embraced this, yes?
Yeah, this is how I played the entire game, actually. And so like I'd started, and I'm aware of like the power disparity and whatnot. Like, I tried to play the game regular, and I was like, oh my god, dude, I have 2 midterms I haven't done. They're 2 weeks late. Like, I have so much shit to do. Like, I cannot get into this game. Like, it occurred to me that there was grinding in this game. Like, I was like, holy fuck.
Well, not really.
Well,
actually.
Not if you start the way you did, though. Like,
not the way.
Well, no, there's never grinding. You have to. The only way to power up your character is to go get the things, whether it be the hearts, which are all in fixed places.
But you can buy like shields and shit.
Yeah, but you started with everything.
No, right? I'm saying, but like.
Right, but you still don't. I mean, I guess you're right. You're correct. You do have to.
I had to grind because I had to get money to buy things. Whereas, like, if I started with that code,
it's not.
You could just go to the tower.
It's a little. We'll certainly get into the full of it, but it's not like
grind might not be
RPG
word,
grinding.
I think it's sufficient.
It is grinding. I mean, it is technically grinding. You're not wrong, but it's not. It's not like you're not just wandering aimlessly and like hoping you get into things that are good. Like, you just go to one place and basically just like hit a button.
You're not leveling up for XP. You're never doing that.
Still, the point being is it was at this moment that I realized, like, oh fuck, there's actually a sort of grinding in this game. I was like, don't have time for this. So and then you sent that thing, and I was like, I'm gonna try that. And then so I figured it out. I think I had to do the same flowchart that you did, start a whole new game, and even putting the past, like, you don't actually enter the second character, you just go to it and highlight it. It's weird.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's the dumb thing. Like, and like the first time I tried it,
I fucked it up.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, you can see that you fucked it up, but yeah, you can't hit the A button. Like, it's a dumbass password entry system, in that, like, when you hit A, it changes the next letter to whatever your cursor is currently on. So like, you basically fuck up your password.
It actually registers as that character.
Right, it's fucked up.
Yeah. So I played the game for like, I don't know, I think I tried for like a couple hours, over 2 sessions, the original way. I put this code in, and like, I just like fucking, I'm shooting out swords 1,000,000 miles an hour, swords, plural, and like, so there's a fucking bigger area of impact, and I'm like, I check my inventory, and like, everything's just juiced as far as I can tell, because I didn't read the manual, and I was like, holy fuck, I guess this is where this goes. I was like, holy fuck, this is how this game should have just been. Like, I started playing it with all this shit, and I was like, navigating and like fighting the enemy is still not easy. Like, it was still difficult, but I was like, oh, if the game was just this from the beginning, then it would have been a good game.
A lot more pleasant. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, we obviously were joking about it in the thread, but like, I love that when I first did it and I saw that you have a 102 out of, you start, when you do it, you start with 100 out of 102 max HP. So like, they don't give you a bunch of HP above the starting situation. They just give you 2 more, and I was like, that's fucking weird as shit. Why is that way? But like, as we were talking about it, and like, you're sending the screenshots, I'm like, it's there so you can't, so it's like a mark of the beast. Like, you fucking know that someone, if you see someone with that 2 at the end of their HP, they fucking did this shit. Yeah, which is super funny that they don't let you fucking, you can't just, you can't King of Kong.
Tell your friends you beat it. Like, look.
Yeah, like, motherfucker, I know. I have Nintendo power. I know. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, it starts you. So it fires you up with, you have everything that's best in the game, except they start you with a parallel shot, not the double shot. I think that's funny. It's probably a different strokes for different folks thing, and I think you do get the parallel shot later, technically. So it probably is technically supposed to be.
I didn't know there was a difference. I just thought I had whatever.
No, yeah, there's a different one called the double shot. That is just it's not two swords side by side. You can fire a second sword. Before the first one leaves the screen, and oh my god, is it
well? Honestly, the parallel shot is great when there's like two enemies, and if they happen to come at you in the same, that's when it's like
definitely
feels like you're like it feels like machine gun. I was like, oh my gosh. But you can only in that situation, because otherwise it'll hit it, and the second one will still travel, and I still have to wait.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh my god, I'd be.
So that's why I'm saying when there's two enemies,
I'd be launching my shit off the fucking
or
balcony.
If the enemy is big.
I didn't even think of that being possible. Oh my god, what twats.
But if it's a small enemy, then it's like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now?
Yeah, it'd be great for like being able to, like the bats that you're trying to shoot up, like fucking from a distance. It's probably great for that. But no, the double shot. I'd rather be doing that. So yes, that is the only appearance of the game as far as like hints and tips go up until this point, which is like January 91-ish in the timeline. So yes, I did do an economic analysis. I think it's a pretty fun one. I saw that they have their own form of currency here in the Kingdom of Wilner, and I wanted to find a way to make a conversion rate between Lutter in the Kingdom of Wilner at this time that the game is occurring in, and the 2024 US dollar, right? So I figured a common item that was the best barometer for setting a market baseline in two separate economies. So I went with the normal sword as the item to act as that. And in the Kingdom of Wilner, the normal sword can be purchased for between 140 and 240 Lutter. And I would be salty as fuck if I paid 240 for it, particularly seeing as, like, that's 5 to 7 Bell's acquired store pricing. So that's like a late game purchase, which means, and we'll get to this when we talk about the shops, but you can buy items and get rid of better items with no going back throughout the game. So if you paid $240 for it after having gotten at least 5 bells and then equipped it, you're probably getting rid of a much better thing. And that would be a real salty thing to pay the higher price for, I think.
I almost paid $240.
Yeah.
For already having it. Like I almost did it again. When I was like, wait a minute. It looks the exact
same. Exactly. There's no way to know what's in that store until after you buy it. And that is just I shouldn't say that. The icons, the sprite icons are different. And even I would say they did a decent job, even down to like the little white pixels in like the handle of the hilt of the sword. Like they did match them up to what's in the manual. But you don't expect that that's the case, especially early. You're only going to get fucked like this once before. Oh, I don't know. That's the thing. Like I save stated, so that's how I checked everything. But like you can't do that on OG hardware. So no, maybe you don't actually only have it happen to you once. Whatever the case, they tried to like match it up to the manual with a level of effort with the illustrations that gives you at least some reference. But either way, it's fucked up and sucks and highly punitive and blah, 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 blah. So to math that out, we will average it out to 190 Lutter as the going rate for a normal sword in the Kingdom of Wilner, just for argument's sake. So how the fuck are we going to get a price on a normal sword in present day, you ask? Do you really think there's not someone out there making real swords in medieval styles? That would be an insane assumption if that is what you might have thought in your mind. Of course there is, and the one with the best Google SEO is coldsteel.com. And holy Moses, does this joint have a motherload of badass sword options. It was incredible. I took a spin through their full catalog, and I settled on an item they call the Norman sword, in part because it looked a lot like the DT normal sword, but also probably because Norman is only one letter away from normal. So here's their description for this particular item. Cold Steel is pleased to offer you our version of the sword ancient Norman warriors used as they crossed the English Channel to conquer Britain at the Battle of Hastings in 1066 AD. Like the original swords we have studied, our replica offers a long, wide blade with twin fully sharpened edges and a broad point. To reduce weight, increase hardiness, and maximize eye appeal, we have added a broad fuller in the middle of the blade. The hilt of Norman sword has also seen equal attention, featuring upturned, spatulated quillions. I don't know what that is, but I bet Jab does. A leather over wood grip and a modified cocked hat pommel. This pommel shape was chosen because it allows greater articulation of the hand while counterbalancing the long, heavy blade. And a link to the sword is in the show notes if that pitch text made you realize how dick hard you are for a 37-inch plus by quarter-inch thick steel sword that weighs over 2 pounds. Now, it only has one buyer review on the website, but it is glowing. It reads, awesome, ... just awesome. I love this thing. It's beautiful and sharp.
It's beautiful and sharp.
And their
review things.
Yeah, their review system oddly requests frequency of use from the buyer. So it's like, it must be like a drop down or a separate data field in the review form. What? And this particular reviewer claims he uses it 2 to 4 times a month.
Oh my god.
What are you cutting, sir?
What the fuck are you doing with your sword 2 to 4 times? Bro.
Maybe he's playing some real life Fruit Ninja. He's like throwing fruit in there.
I don't know.
That's what that's what all people with swords do. And B, this guy just paid $400 for a sword. Like, you're just gonna look at it? Like, yeah, I'm probably gonna swing it a few times.
I love that you sat there so interested that you Googled it. But yes, it is.
No, I was intrigued by this. This is incredible.
Yeah, the sticker price is $399.99 or 4 easy payments of $99.99, and I guess in that case you are actually gonna save 4 cents because you're only gonna pay, or 3 cents I should say, because you're only gonna pay. What, 96 cents? Yeah, 96 cents in that case. $399.96 if you do it in 4 payments. So
saving a little bit. Did
just
you
make it
into your equation?
Making money. Just making money here buying this sword. And it comes with a free sheath. You don't even pay extra for the sheath. So by all means, that is the modern day benchmark we're going to use, and from there it's simple math. We get $399.99 divided or 96, however you want to do it. It's not going to be particularly different. By 190 or divided by 190 rather, and that comes out to 2 letter and 11 letter pennies is equal to $1 in 2024. So now you know.
2.11 letter.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah. So what's some more simple buying power? What costs $2.11 these days? Fuck, man.
A short cup of coffee.
Or what cup? I should say.
Literally
what
a short cup of coffee.
That's wrong. What's $1 is actually what we need. What actually costs? What is at the 99-cent store that actually costs 99 cents? Which not everything does, and I always think that's fucked up.
That's a different story.
What costs $1? I don't know. You literally can't buy anything for $1. Yeah. That is the Castle Stairway 3 theme. Getting us rolling on our playthrough. I don't know when in the game that's from. Too many of the tracks sound similar, and who the fuck knows? That's just the one I liked when I was going through the soundtrack on G. Blair's listing for it.
I like it.
The music is good also in this game.
So yeah, some of them are good. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know where that goes in this discussion anymore, but it's actually, I kind of liked it.
There were ones I enjoyed.
The fantasy motifs, like they had the flavors. It was the intervals and the chords. It's all there.
Yep. For even like that PTSD fucking the dungeon ones, man. Like, yeah, I just had to sit and map those fucking the 2 dungeons that I did, and it should have pissed me. It should have grated me more. It should have grated on me more than it did. The music, considering what I was doing, I think so. That's probably a testament to it being not that bad. It's not great at any point, but it's not that bad. For 86 in particular, not bad. So the title screen, you fire this baby up, the title screen scrolls down from above and holds there a beat before the prologue we performed fires up along with probably the crowning musical achievement of the OST. And this scrolls up from the bottom, and each section is separated by a little like icon of some kind from the story world, bells, shields, helmets, etc. And when you hit start, you are automatically railroaded to a screen titled Password Check, where you have no option to skip or ignore it. You must enter something, and that is, like, this is your first time playing. You just have to spam a bunch of characters, basically.
Right? I was like,
confused
what are we
there.
doing?
Yeah, what the fuck, man? And yeah, what a whack-ass way to onboard you to an NES game. You appear outside a wall extending up off the screen. There's some windows and panels with crooked faces adorning them here and there. And it appears you're maybe standing at the edge of a cliff down below your sprite. And that Prince Meyer sprite is a little dude in a set of blue armor, head to toe, with a set of horns protruding from the helmet, like we mentioned. We were talking about box art. And his little face is exposed, and he has like a terse, determined expression on it. Like kind of frowning, I guess, you know. The color palette out here is a very ugly and boring set of teals and blues. Some black here and there to give the POI's definition. It's not pleasant to the eye. I wouldn't say any of this is pleasant to the eye as far as the actual look of the spaces you traverse.
Which is funny because I love those colors, but like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
Your implementation of them is the worst possible way of doing
Right.
it. Yeah, it's like there's this palette, there's this yellow-brown scheme, you know? It's like, it's so emblematic of what you know to be, we know to be the NES's color palette limitations before they MMC3 and so on and so forth chipped it up and gave it a little more expanded capability. But like, it's so demonstrative of the early color limitations of the NES, you know? They just didn't make any effort to try to like get around that system. They're just like, nope. 3 colors.
That's what we got. We're doing.
Yeah. The controls and HUD situation. The HUD is minimal. In the middle up top are white numbers, 100/100 if you didn't cheat when you start here. And this is depicting the HP remaining and the max. And if you press select, it brings up that item menu we talked about already. That's where most of your quest info lies. You will see here that there's a sword of some kind in the attack box here at the start. And you can't select items. Once equipped, the manual does tell us this is the short sword. So, like, once you equip something, you can't go up and see what it's named, you know.
Yeah.
You can only do that when it's in the, like, use item area. But we know we start with this because of the manual, and that manual description reads, "It is so weak, you feel lonely." And then in a parenthetical, it reads, "You have no confidence in this sword," and that is hilarious. It, like, uses that a lot. Like, again... That goes as far as translation stuff. As simple as that, which is odd because Broderbund's not like shouldn't have trouble. Well, they're converting from Japanese, I guess, so it is still difficult. But there's a lot of that. Like they like talk about like confidence or like emotional stuff, you know, with how good an item is. Yeah, it's funny. They do that a lot with the manual descriptions of the swords and armors and stuff. Further on controls available to you as an adventurer, as we talked about in the manual perusal, you can move all 8 directions and fire a sword projectile that away with the A button, and B does fuck all again. And the movement does feel fine, I would say. Like, it's not janky in any immediately discernible way. Like, your walking speed is fine. It's better when you, like, after playing the game for a while, when you get the hyper boots and you get that speed boost, it is welcome. But it's not like I started this game and I was like, oh, come the fuck on, you know? Yeah. So, nothing to bitch about there, I guess. My one significant gripe in the controls realm is that when you're trying to do the intercardinal firing of your weapon, for some reason, he doesn't want to stay there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys felt that or not. Like, and like
drifts back.
Press it and let go.
Yeah,
like
and I don't know if that's because you're holding it, and basically if it's user error, and that you're holding it and you're just rocking your thumb to one side or the other while doing that, and it doesn't do a lenient enough job of ignoring that, you know? Like maybe you should if you have intercardinal direction movement in a game. I don't know how, you know, I don't know. Again, that's probably just like nuanced programming stuff that these guys did not take the time and effort to or have the know-how at this time to do. Yep. So whatever. But yeah, I definitely felt that at times. And like, I would learn the boss fights to basically just, because like I learned this cheese with the boss that we'll get to, but like, I would like walk, I'm like, you know, like try to get stuck on the wall basically, you know, and once you learned that you didn't have to get, like, you didn't need to hold it, basically, that you could just get stuck and then let go and stay that way, it became less of a problem. But you have to teach yourself to do that because it's not your first inclination.
Well, also, you're used to having to move toward an enemy, so you want to be holding
it precisely
to go that direction.
Right.
So, like, in certain situations, you can't do that. You have to just, like, position it and let go and just fire.
Right. So, yes, the structure of this game, which we have already bitched about quite a bit already, like, I'm dividing it up into 3 parts, kind of. There is the overworld, or they call it the castle, even though it doesn't look like a castle necessarily. It looks more like this mountain that you're climbing that maybe has some shit built into it, but they call it a castle and all the material here.
Fair
so
enough.
that's the technical name, sure. So that's where you start. That's what this first area is. And here at the bottom of that area, there are 2 visible doorways on the back wall, which, I mean, if you can, like, walk right there when you first start, you're all the way left on this area, and you can walk right, and it's maybe like 3-ish screens worth. And there's 2 doorways there on the back. The one is open. It's a menacing face similar to those on the wall panels that it has above it, like this little kind of, crude, like, pumpkin jack-o'-lantern type face maybe. And the other door is covered by a grate. And this is what I assumed the manual was citing as the entrance to the first dungeon, which I think I might have said. So I go over there and I'm like, I can't go in here. What the fuck is this thing talking about, man? And it's not the dungeon, of course. It's the end of the fucking game, but I didn't know that then. And there is a dungeon over here, like you said. If you keep walking, you can find your first hidden dungeon. But how the fuck would you know that looking at the screen? There's literally nothing.
But that's my point, though. The way I played this game, I think of it the same way. Like, you're going into the castle, and in the castle you make it to towers, and along the way at any point you can fall into a dungeon. And so the way I looked at this in terms of the screen, it was like, I'm gonna just clear the screen and just see what else is out here first before I go.
That's a smart way to do it,
but that's also how I did each level. That's also how I did each level of the castle too. I was
right.
Let me go back.
That's what you have to do. That is the way the game needs you to play it. And I know the manual said it explicitly, like I said, but I don't think you can look at that and go, okay, I really got to walk every single fucking pixel.
Well, no, I didn't think of it more like that. I just kind of went, I didn't go every pixel, but I just kind of went like
the edges. All you do is the edges.
But
yeah,
and it worked.
Right. Sure. Yeah. You don't. Yeah. There's nothing. I guess you can give it, if you want to give it some credit in this realm. They're not located in just the middle of any particular area. They are always on the periphery.
Yeah.
But that makes it even shittier, I think, from a narrative point, really. But whatever. Anyways, I didn't check over here, so I didn't find this first dungeon. I walked over here, and I was like, well, I can't go in this door, even though I think it's supposed to be the dungeon. I guess I'll just go in that other one. And that's how I started this game. And, Chad, did you find that dungeon when you first were down there?
Yeah, I went all the way to the right, like Jay did.
Right.
And I think... This was like, I think it was the first time it happened. It must have been, yeah. It must have been the first time where I was just like, why did I just teleport?
Yeah.
Because, again, I didn't read the manual. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, maybe,
I read the manual, and I still asked that question when it happened to me the first time, so that's not just manual stuff.
I don't feel so bad. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe, like, I hit, like, the edge of the screen or something, didn't know, and then I probably promptly died, and I just, load state back to the beginning of the game, and then took a different path into the... thing. So yeah, I found it. I was like, what the fuck, whatever, moving on. This game's weird, moving on.
Yeah. Well, they don't make this a totally benign area, even though it is the opening one. There are some enemies patrolling here, and it is first, I guess maybe let's talk more about this structure. So, and like, I didn't know this until literally I had finished the game and I was trying to make heads or tails and looking at a map on the strategy wiki. But this overworld map has 9 like areas, and they are tiered vertically above. Like it goes it's like each step in this 9-step process to get to where the towers are. Basically, it didn't feel like this when I was going through it. I felt I was just kind of aimlessly wandering around because the doors are on different sides, and like I don't know. I did not get the vibe of what the map depicts at all, which is just this very linear 1 by 1 moving up this fucking path to as you go up the mountain. But that's how it is. And funny enough, the dungeon, each one has its own dungeon. Every one of these outer world tiers, areas, has a dungeon as well. So it's like once you see it all laid out in front of you and see the dungeon entrances mapped on each one, and dungeon 9 is on fucking overworld area 9, and like it makes so much more sense. You look at it like, how the fuck was it so confusing, but it feels very, very confusing for sure, despite the fact it is a surprisingly structured environment.
You said on Eternal Lies, there's one dungeon, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll get to him, but there's definitely not.
What's funny is I actually I felt I don't remember exactly like how it was triggered necessarily, but I did feel like I was going up a more and more narrow and constrained path at a certain point.
I would agree. Once I came out of my dungeon experience, I did kind of feel like, I remember I wrote down in my notes, I was like, I kind of felt railroaded to hitting the tower area once I came out of the dungeon. But prior to that happening, and it's literally because, and I went into, it was Dungeon 6 that I ended up actually spending time in when I fell into it and decided I was going to map it and take this head on. So, I am only 4 screens away basically at that, but like that wander of up to 6, and like, again, just like the aimlessness feeling of it, because you are not given any direction necessarily. It felt so much more wandery, than the stretch after, even though it is pretty much 50-50, on each side of that.
Yeah.
Pretty close to. But anyways, this first area, there's little fireballs that ammo around slowly in whatever direction, and they kill these. They are certainly starter enemies, and that you're never going to get more than one on the screen at the time. There's 4 of them in here, and you learn the whole thing of like, it does do a decent job of that tried and true fucking video game start slow and teach the mechanics thing, so you can like learn to freeze them and kill them. They drop stuff. These guys do drop letter and hearts both, so blah, 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 all that happens here, and you can learn that before you get into any bullshit, which the game does not fuck around to dump on you on the second screen. So
don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I mean, there's really not, like, to me, all these areas, we're certainly not going to like, oh, tier fucking 2, like, let's talk about that. Like, it's not interesting enough. It's just random enemies everywhere, and it is kind of just like interesting shit that happened to me, I think, is the structure for this area of the game before we get to the underworld where the towers are. And I guess, tell me about, I mean, maybe the first thing is finding your first dungeon. Like, how did you find your first dungeon? Well, I guess you find the ones on the first screen, so that you kind of already explained that. But I guess, Jab, you didn't really engage it. Jay, you didn't engage that one either, did you? Did you stay down there, or did you just okay?
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. So this was my flow. Since I said I was going screen by screen, the thing is, when I was in that first dungeon, I got to the point where I found items I could buy, and then I was like, oh, this is where I grind. This is great. So I was, I kind of hit that high of just staying going back and forth, like one screen to another, just grinding up letter, buying whatever.
And was this on the boundary towers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when I left though, I ended up on like the second tower screen somewhere. So I exited already in the tower on like the second, that brownish kind of level.
Really?
So then I went back and forth through that level, and like,
that's interesting, because they don't label on this map that I was referring to. They don't label the exits necessarily. I presumed. Yeah, because I didn't come out of 6 the same place either, man. You're right. I didn't. Yeah. I came out of 6 on a different screen.
Yeah, man. That's why for me, like, these guys were just like, oh, I came out of the tower. There's like the bouncy ball and these kind of guys, and I just went back and forth, and I ended up running into the little guards and whatnot.
Right. Which are really, honestly, it's worth saying, that's the only really interesting thing. Other than heart pickups, and yes, the dungeons, if you call it interesting, you don't see anything, you're there. But those are the only, like, POI.
They really
again,
are.
It goes to the idea again I mentioned of like just this nothing, no direction, no aimless, just nothing interesting. It's all just all the enemies out here feel like, they feel like the slimes in Adventure of Link. They're just really like bullshit. They all feel like bullshit.
Nondescript, just
right.
Except for like the dungeon characters, because they each have their own different.
Sure, there's humanoids down there.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. But
like,
those are dungeon. I'm saying the overworld ones though are all just bullshit.
Absolutely nothing. Just
they're bats and those little balls and the fucking things flying up on the cliffs and fucking what else? Some slime looking things. Like there's just nothing out there that's
flames.
like it's all bullshit. So all the more reason why it all looks and feels the same. I think like honestly to the point, and like I don't know how much you guys. Jay, I would guess very little, and Jab, you might not remember the game, but like I thought so much. I was almost sure they had to be from the same developer. Actually, I was sitting there playing. I was like, it feels so like Rygar. I felt very Rygar to me, and I expected it to be the same. Rygar's Tecmo. I can't believe I forgot that, and I had to look it up. But yeah, it's not. But yeah, I was getting hardcore Rygar vibes here at the beginning. But aesthetically, a lot of Rygar happens in kind of like this mountainous shit. So that's kind of what maybe part of it was as well. But yeah, I thought about that a lot when I was playing this game initially. It was like Rygar, which is not good necessarily.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't get the Rygar vibes, and Rygar was harder. I never fucking got anywhere with that game.
Me either, and but that also was the other thing. Is like Rygar was another situation where like it's like kind of interesting. I want to like it. I want to engage it. I maybe want to keep playing it, but I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere, and I don't know what I'm doing.
It's taking too long, and I got to get on.
It's funny that you guys mentioned it's funny that you mentioned those two games together, because even like when I was researching and kind of just reading like from the wiki, it mentioned Deadly Towers and Rygar. Were the first Japanese action.
Well, that's exactly it's early. America. It's super early too. Is another.
So that's why they're both very flawed and very. Oh my gosh, what's going on here?
Okay.
Yep. I mean, you do. So in this area, you do kind of like start to get. You find a few hearts, so they kind of teach you that system, I guess, that you're looking for these hearts, and that's how you're going to develop your character. So that starts out here,
dude. But hold on. To that point, though, I don't. That's the only thing that kept me going through this whole loop, except for finding a freaking like shield or something. Like I was shocked that you didn't have as much health, because going back and forth, like. I had like 170 health at this point.
Because you kept falling
200. I just kept going.
Was it out of dungeons or because
not even in the dungeons, like the overworld areas, like just checking all the areas. I would just next screen a heart, next screen a heart, next. Screen,
I don't feel like there's that many up there.
Much.
I did not feel that. I thought you were going to say because one of the, like the, if you look at like the recommended walkthrough of this game, it tells you to kind of beeline to the tower area and go into those towers, and because not all, but a lot of them have the tower climbs, the exterior tower climbs have those in them. So you can kind of like stack those up without having to go into the towers really and deal with them yet. You kind of go in and grab those as like just to build your character up. And you can also get a lot of the items rather easily too without having to actually finish the tower and then come back out and maybe start with an easier tower or whatever it might be. So like, that is kind of what I thought you did, is that that's how you stack those, is that once you got to the tower area, you were going in and grabbing them and coming back out. You didn't do any of that though? No? Oh, wow.
I was definitely going back and forth. Like I said, I'm sure just checking rooms and going in and out, I'm sure I was finding them like that and clearing. Because I was making sure, okay, there's nowhere else to go first level, nowhere else to go second level, nowhere else. So I was invariably grabbing them. And yeah, once I got to the towers, there were some more later, like when I got to call it like 230, and I realized, I have a lot, but I don't have any more. Then I was picking the rest up. Okay. There.
Did you? Like I mentioned, I only found that entrance to this dungeon 6 on level 6 of the overworld, and I never once found another dungeon going up the mountain. So, other than that first one, how many instances, I guess, did you guys actually find of dungeon entrances?
Only a couple, like the very beginning, and then on that brownish level where I know I come out of the other one.
And is that the one? That's the one where you come out of it and you get the heart, right?
Yeah,
it's right there. That's 6. That's the one I was in as well.
So then, yeah,
and I think that one's tough to avoid. Yeah, that's a perfect example of it. I found the interest in that, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It wasn't actually, I guess, technically in the middle, but it's kind of in a place you can't really avoid unless you know it's there.
That's what I mean, though. Like because I know I got there in mind from the very beginning one, I'm like, this is clearly a sprawling, super place that got me like up there. And so when I actually, after I had gotten 3 bells or 4 bells, however many, because I remember
maybe we're actually talking about different dungeons then.
Maybe so.
Maybe there's two places where you come out and there's a heart right there, because the first. It's not. Well, again, I don't fucking know. But I don't.
Actually, no. There's another dungeon or another, in the way that I interpreted this, another exit to the same dungeon on another level here as well. So technically, to me, there would be 3 entrances on the very bottom, on the brown level, and then like a greenish level.
Technically, we don't know. That's what technically. Jab, how many did you find?
I thought I found I know I found the one in the very first screen all the way to the right. Found that one. And then I found the brown one that you guys are talking about as well, that you can like easily get knocked into. So it's like it's the one that's kind of out in the middle of something. Is it downward from the entrance?
It's not. Well, I don't know what you mean by entrance exactly.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of there's a door. It's kind of like
it's like it's just below a door, right? Yeah,
Right.
It's just below a door. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of like a ledge looking thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was that.
You can't could be anywhere.
Right.
By the way,
But it's the best we could do because there's no fucking POIs.
And then I thought I also found, but maybe you're not talking about this. I thought there was one like in a gray level. It was like if you came in from the
Well,
right
there's
side-
one on every level, Jab. That's my point.
Well,
there is one on every level.
There's one on every level. Okay. Well,
Yes,
maybe.
every single one of them. There's one somewhere to be found.
That's
in
what I
there.
don't believe.
Yeah. Okay.
It's cap. It's all cap, bro. It's all cap.
I played very differently than you guys did to catch up. So, yeah, my experience is a little different, but
Well, that doesn't. I mean, here's the thing. Like, this doesn't. That's why I said it'll be interesting. This isn't the greatest manifestation of it, but there's no. It doesn't. Cheating doesn't change this. Like, you're still wandering around aimlessly.
Right.
You're still wandering around aimlessly, and you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know where these things are. You don't know how to avoid them the first time unless you know, until you fall into them accidentally. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't change your experience.
yeah, I honestly didn't feel like I was cheating.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we're kind of. I mean, one thing I have here, like we're kind of lying about POIs because there's I think there's a couple of them, and you
Oh yeah,
obviously
actually, I can think of
you encounter them coming back down the mountain too. But there's those 2 areas that are like blocked by a kind of a mini gatekeeper, mini boss type deal. And my first time, so there's the first one you see is a dragon, and it's blocking this doorway. And I think it's actually right above. No, I think I might have found. I think it's lower than that. I want to say it's below the first dungeon I went into. But whatever the case, the first time I walked onto the screen, I saw this thing. I hadn't really figured out the battle mechanics well yet, and basically I was like, I can't deal with that. There's no way. I just left, and like I wandered around, and I think I wandered into those guardians, and you can't go through there, and it was kind of like there was nowhere to go, and that was like, I guess maybe that was part of my frustration early too. Was like I didn't feel like I could deal with that. There was nothing I had gotten. Because I didn't find any of the dungeons. I didn't find any extra equipment. I only had the 120 heart life or something. I've only found 2 of the fucking things. Like, I don't have anything that makes me feel powerful. So when I see this fucking boss, and I know how easily I'm dying already, I can't deal with that. I just leave.
Yeah.
And then I'm wandering around trying to find something else to do to get some power. And there isn't anything. And it's actually not that hard. It freezes like the other enemies. You can just run up to it and just dump on it, basically. But I didn't assume or know that. So, like, yeah, I spent a lot of time scared to progress because of that enemy's presence. And that also was maybe some of my early frustration, too,
Yeah, I think I just muscled through with like I found that dragon at pretty early on, and I was like, okay, cool. Now we're talking like fantasy game. I got swords, I got dragons. Here we go.
Yeah, and you got the gear, so you don't have fucking.
Well, no. I mean, I even found this like before I had like so. This is one of those things I did before I cheated, and so I encountered the dragon, and like I got save state. So what do I care? Like I just fucking killed him, and like I think I took some damage doing it or whatever. But like I took enough damage that I was like, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this just yet. And then, like, to do whatever comes after that is probably beyond my capability. So I had kind of a similar
right. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Is that it's kind of subverting what we would come to learn. And that's the thing. It's before that. This vernacular doesn't exist yet medieval fantasy RPG games yet, which is, so you can't even knock them for this, unfortunately. But like, it goes against what we know, what we've learned in the days since 1987. And that's part of the frustration, is that like, you're not speaking the right language, man.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is supposed to be a bridge in Dragon Warrior. It's supposed to be, like, there's something I'm supposed to be able to do on this side of the bridge that makes me feel like I can walk over that bridge. And you don't give that to me here. And that's part of the frustration, I think, for sure. Yeah, dude. I mean, even like once I kill it, that's like the first time you see a bigger enemy, what the boundary towers become in the dungeons, of like a bigger enemy that drops a bunch of shit, and you're like, ooh, like a fucking, hit the jackpot kind of feel, like a bunch of shit here. So like, I'm, missing a bunch of life when I get to this, of course, because I'm trying to like play the game legit still at this point.
Same. Yep.
And it drops all this stuff the first time, and I had gotten fucked up too bad. So I'm like, I got to just come back and do this again. And when I go back the second time, like I said, I'm not really save scumming every screen yet or anything. Mm-hmm. And like, I come back the second time and he didn't drop hearts, he dropped money. And it is kind of like one or the other thing. They don't really, I mean, the boundary towers will drop both. Actually, that's a lie, I guess. Yeah, but sometimes it totally skews one direction. And the second time he dropped all money, and I'm like, I don't know what the money's for yet, but I need hearts. And I'm like, I loaded again. And like, that is where I set a precedent and learned that every single screen in this experience, you need to basically clear the screen of all potential danger variables. And you're still out of the woods. Some RNG shit could happen, some shit could appear, whatever. That doesn't mean you're safe. But you should at least feel that way. And then take a second, make sure nothing's going to happen right now where you're standing, and save scum. And to do that every screen, or you're not going to get anywhere in this video game. If you want to call it a video game, and that is highly debatable based on this fact. And this is where I learned it, at this fucking first dragon here. And yeah, it is just, you can just get RNG'd into oblivion at any second. And like, we have these save states. Like, there were so many times playing the game where like, I thought to myself, I'm like, if I had, there's nowhere to save, there's nothing. You just die and go to the beginning. There's nothing. Like, there's
if you
nothing.
Accidentally knocked through a screen loop and you're like bouncing, you're like, what just happened?
It can just rip out your existence from beneath your feet at any second, this game. And it's insane. It's fucking insane that the developers looked at that.
They were like,
and didn't think they had to moving on. Yeah, like I just can't believe that that there are kids that sat and played it that way, like Jerome, you poor fuck, sitting there in 1988 or whenever he had it, and like trying to like play this game legitimately is literally insane.
Jerome, did you legit play this game? Like,
he said he tried to. He didn't. He said he didn't get anywhere. The way he's like, I tried to like it. Like, I want to like, and that's exactly what I've said a million times too. Like, I want to like this game, and once I played it this way, I did like it, maybe even because once you internalize that as the proper game loop, that's the way it has to be done. It's exactly the same concept as modern fucking. The way modern games work. You just die and like redo that stupid little challenge again, which is, I have all the criticisms in the world about too, but that's requisite to be able to function in this world. It's absolutely requisite. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. You have to internalize that and normalize it in your experience, or you can't play this game.
my big debate though is like, we had such different experiences. Like, obviously you're meant to fall into dungeons and have to map and figure it out. But like, you could, like, the debate to me is like, do you avoid those? Could you avoid them altogether and just make your way through the towers and not deal with the dungeons and look at them as a necessity? Yes. Whereas I felt they were a necessity because I felt like all the good stuff was there. Like we were saying early on, I came back after getting like 3 bells or something, and I did, in fact, find better gear. So it was kind of like, oh, I guess I had to come back to this freaking dungeon again. Later it was like, oh, I even kind of feel like I missed better stuff in the towers. It's like
the dungeons. It's not only are that they're totally optional, but I also feel like they are way easier. Even, again, too much RNG, impossible on OG hardware. Still, everything in the game is that. But within the spectrum of this video game, the tower climbs, way more RNG. Those bats and shit, like, enemies get exponentially harder. Like, it's way tougher to deal with working through that part of the ghosts, fucking horrific. Like, all that is way harder. The dungeons are much more palatable.
Oh, for sure.
On the spectrum of this game.
Just, at first, it was much more getting lost. Like, oh my god.
Right, exactly.
Where am I going?
Because you got the map. It's insane not the map, Jay.
Like I said, I felt that way, and then I found the loop of 2 separate rooms of good stuff that I could grind for. And then I was like, oh, great.
I wouldn't even call it that. To me, I marked them as little G's on my map, but like, it was a boundary tower on one, and then it's not, I mean, I get you good stuff too. You can also do that. But like, my second room wasn't about the one other than the boundary tower. I mean, my other room that I'd use for those grinding spots was not about finding something that was good to get stuff from. It was about finding a room next to a boundary tower that was either just one enemy or a group of really like those slinkies that just move super slow in one horizontal direction and are no threat. You don't even need to deal with them if you don't want to. Like, it wasn't about finding something that drops good shit. It was about finding something that isn't going to RNG fuck me when I go in and out of the boundary screen.
No, I'm specifically saying I found like a better shield and like, call it like the hyper boots or something, or like whatever, the normal sword, whatever it was, 2 different things, and I was like, oh, I gotta get those things. And so I would just go back and forth, knowing that like they're 4 screens away from each other.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I try to do with these grinding spots.
Just to get those items.
That's the thing. I went through and I'm mapping these dungeons, and the ones that I was trying to find one of those that is exactly that is near the shops, so I'm not having to wander. And like, I understand that it's more important in your mind because you don't have a map, so you're trying to find that, you're trying to internalize this as something that I can do from memory, and I get how whatever that's a priority. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to do the same thing even with maps in what I'm describing here. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, dude. Throughout the entire game, I guess if it need be stated explicitly, like, the battle is no fun at all. Everything is just a bullet sponge and random shit flying in and off the fucking screen from wherever. Like, it's just, no matter what you do, there's nothing you can do, which is the cardinal fucking sin of a video game, I think, to get good. It can foil your best laid plan at any time. And even I tried to fence test with some of those bats and the tower climbs and stuff because I'm safe scumming my ass off. Why the fuck not? And like, I mean, I would save and like, load fucking state and like take a few steps to the right, and sometimes a bat comes, other times not. Like, it's just,
I'm gonna go at a 45-degree angle every time this time. I gotta be shooting downward this time.
Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter.
Like, oh, the ghost. Like, okay, I get it. It's definitely if I do 45 northwest this time, that always works. Nope. It doesn't.
No. Just brutal, man. It's horrific if you try to play it straight.
It's like, to me, the excitement was really when I'm picking up an item that finally gets me better. I finally got the normal sword.
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
But that's like all it is. But even then, it's like, okay, I got that nice upgrade. But again, counterbalance.
That's what I mean. They're like conflicting systems that they didn't get to fit properly. They have this flow chart of like this thing that pays off, but the other system of the battle, it's a lack of cohesion that, is not terribly uncommon in 1986 for video games. So, again, like, this is an incredibly exacerbated example of it that you want to fucking chuck into the volcano, but they're not alone. So back to the fucking flow chart here. Speaking of bullet sponges, you meet your gatekeepers that we talked about here, and these kind of like, again, the only really interesting looking sprite maybe or whatever thing on this mountain. They call these are part of the clone race in the manual, and these the description for them is, these guard the gate. They are cloned humans created by Rubus, king of the devils. Since Rubus has instilled his spirits into these clones, they will not die no matter how often you attack them. And they don't attack, at least. They just stand there, and they only fuck you if you try to walk between them. They'll fucking dash at you. And then they stand shoulder to shoulder blocking the way. So, yeah, I saw these, dude, and, You learn later that the magic key item is how you deal with these. Though I do not see a point to putting that on you. Do you guys feel like having that key? Well, Jab, you didn't even have it. So no, right?
Go ahead.
I don't think I had the key, but I think I even sent it to the chat where I just like came up behind them and walked through the door anyways. So
okay.
like,
and what happened then?
Like two ways. One, I walked through and it just put me in the doorway. Then they closed on me and they killed me. So like, God forbid that happened to you. You poor Jerome's playing this as far as he's gotten, you know. And then he's fucked again. But then I realized that I just loaded and then I walked through full speed and I got through and then I was just in that area.
Okay, so they didn't even prohibit you then.
What?
No, like you can walk through that door and if you know you're doing it and you just proceed south, then you'll clear them.
Here's the thing: you can also go around them. I didn't have to come through the door that way. I mean
is like I somehow went around them like in my exploring and then I just came through a door. Fortunately, I had saved like you told me to, and then I got hit by them, and I was like,
yes, but no, what I'm saying, Jab, is you don't even have to go through that door. You can actually walk left on that tier above them and come through another door. And yeah, I was on my, we'll get there when we talk about that approach, but I didn't know where the fuck to go at the end of the game either. And I assumed that they were where I had to go, that I had to go through the door that they were guarding, and that was where this fucker was. That was my presumption. Because that was one of the only thing I could think in my mind that I hadn't been. I had forgotten about that gate on the first fucking screen. So I was trying to find these motherfuckers. And I'm just wandering aimlessly because, again, I don't know the system of the layout of this castle area and how it's just a simple layered tiers deal. So I'm just wandering aimlessly trying to get down the mountain. And I came out and walked into them from the left again. And I see, like, literally, I have my notes here when we get to that point. Like, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, where the fuck am I? Where am I going? Am I in the same place? I don't know. It all looks the same. Who the fuck knows? And then I saw those guys and I was like, nope, that's the only POI here. I know where this is. I know it's about halfway down. But yeah, I walked out in front of them. So you don't even have to go through the fucking door. So that magic key item that makes them possible to walk through isn't essential in two ways. One, you can just avoid it entirely. And two, you said you just ran through them and didn't get hit by them anyway. So
yeah, from behind. When I approached when I walked through the door they were guarding, if you just walk straight south, they don't hit you. But if
I guess maybe the function would be.
Don't hit you.
I never got through just like trying to walk through the door. Like,
right? Yeah, me either. I guess maybe if you're playing this game a little different and you feel like you got to do a lot of back and forth, and maybe you want to get to dungeon fucking 3, maybe having that key allows you to get through that door, and going through that is maybe faster and less shitty than the other way. Perhaps, I don't know. Who the fuck knows? But
I don't know.
Maybe they have some light purpose, or it has some light purpose.
No, there's no purpose.
no purpose.
Because I had the magic key, and I used it, and I don't even know like what it did. But the first time I came upon these guys, I couldn't get through. That was obviously before I got
That's what it does. It keeps them from closing.
I know, but hear me out, though. But to your point, I didn't have the magic key at first, couldn't get through. As I'm playing, wherever I am, I use the magic key. But wherever I am, at some point later in the game, I just come through this and they're just already apart. So I don't know if like my use of the magic key.
Right, yeah, you have to, yes, exactly. You use it in your inventory.
Like it goes up out of where they were anyway, wherever I was. So
right, but when you have to use the key like you use, any of your other things. And then I don't know if you noticed it moved in your inventory, right?
Yeah, it's gone. Like
it's not gone. It moves up into that. It moves up into that box, and it's just like a status now.
But that was my thing too. Like I never would have understood what the hell.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it makes any sense.
And also because I was out of there. So like, if I didn't have the key, would I have just run into those guys walking out of there?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
That's
great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's what Jab said he did. Yeah, exactly. That's what Jab said he did. But all the more reason. I don't know. I guess whatever. Who knows? Whatever.
I mean, how did I end up? If this door's so important, how the fuck did I end up behind it?
Cool.
Right. You're coming back down the mountain, so that's what I'm saying. I just think it's a kind of shortcut. I guess is really the best way to describe it. I think it's a shortcut. Would be my best guess, but yeah. So I'm going through here the first time. That's why it was such a substantial thing to me. Like I said, I bumped into these guards, and this is when I was scared to deal with the dragon. So like I'm kind of walking around up here. So this was a very significant thing in my mind. So when I'm going through the first time to go up the mountain, I head west from those guys and go through that other door that I would come through later to avoid them entirely. Coming back down the mountain to go the long way, essentially, which is what you have to do, before you have that key. So, yeah, I go west, and then the next screen is where Dungeon 6 is. So that must be Dungeon 5, exactly halfway up the mountain. Makes total sense, I guess. And I'm walking around, I'm trying to I'm trying to deal with this scorpion that's walking around in that area, and because those were probably one of the shittier enemies. They move super erratically and
4 hits to kill.
Yeah, they take their bullet sponges in a half, and they move stupid. So I'm trying to do that thing, and then suddenly the screen fades out and back in, and I'm in what I suppose was a dungeon. And yes, no fucking visual anything. Yep. It's in the middle of seemingly nowhere, and I don't know, it just. Not at all a fan, but let's talk about them. So, I wandered around this first one. I kind of talked about it already, but I'm immediately, I'm not even going to, I think I wandered a little bit. Yes, that was the problem, actually, because I didn't start mapping right away. My first time down here, because it's exactly what you described, Jeb. You're like, I didn't know I was going to have to map. You're like mapping is it's a state of mind and obviously requires tools. So, inadvertently ending up in a dungeon. If I'm playing Final Fantasy or Dragon War, and granted, we played all those, so I know when I'm coming to this moment in my life, perhaps, and that's a little bit of a different thing, but, and a little harder to criticize this for, because I, of course, don't know, haven't played the game, but, yeah, it's a thing. I'm okay, I'm doing the Marsh Cave now. I sit down at my table, I've described my whole process, I got my graph paper, I got my pencil, I got my coffee, I'm ready to go. It's an activity. This, it just happens to me, and I'm like, fuck, I wasn't ready for that, but I get going, and it's evident to me, we'll talk about the form of them and everything, but I don't fucking know what's gonna happen. But I wander, and you come down, and if you don't map where your entrance is, you can't even look up where you are on the internet. You know what I mean? So, once you start wandering, if you don't start mapping from the very beginning, you might as well not do it. I mean, that's not true, I guess. You start mapping where you're at, and you'll eventually find the exit. But you'll never know where the entrance is. So you have to be mapping from the very beginning to truly map these things at all, which is funny in of itself. It's the first time we've encountered that kind of thing because of this, I don't know. Again, it's almost just, it's not, but it feels like RNG. Especially because you're so programmed at this point to expect this game to just dump RNG on your head. You know what I mean? So, yeah, my first initial, emotional response to these was just what the fuck, man? The only thing that differentiates any room you're in at any given time is, the entire dungeons are all the same color. Some of them are blue, some of them are yellow, I believe. No, those do actually change down in individual dungeons, don't they?
They do. Individual rooms change.
Okay, yeah. So, but it's only the two options, really. It's yellow and there might be green too, whatever. There's only a handful of options. It's not distinct enough to use that in your mind anyways, I don't think, to remember where you're at, as if you could with 200 rooms anyways, 200 plus rooms. 16 by 16 is what?
Did not help me.
What's 16 by 16? 16 times 16
was that 244?
256. 256, yeah. So, yes, way over 200 rooms, motherfucker. Closer to 3 if you want to fucking round it. So fucking the only thing that really differentiates them is the color, I guess, the 3 different tones, and then whether or not there's a door on any of the 4 walls. That's how you differentiate. And then some of them, yes, have these little circle decorations on the floor, and those don't look any different either. All those look the same. So yes, they are somewhat discerning because they're not in every room, but basically there's just nothing in these things to give you any bearing at all where the fuck you are, especially in a space that big. So just holy fuck. Just holy fuck. Just holy fuck with these dungeons. And the idea that there's 10 of them that are all supposedly 200. Like I said, I only went into 2 of them, but the fact that there's 256 rooms times 10, 2,560 fucking rooms.
That's insanity.
It's insanity. It's insanity. Of nothing. You don't even need to be in them.
Yeah, and it's very easy. It's very easy, to decision tree for me, especially the first couple, in my mind, the only ones, to just kind of say, all right, if I go here, left, and then right, and then left, nothing happens. Then left, and then right, and then down, then dead end. Then left, and then right, nowhere else. All right, now I'm going to go back and then go up. So I could just, as long as I'm not, it was good for me, I was able to do that as long as I wasn't taking breaks between the game sessions. So like,
if I'm even mapping,
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
even mapping, I would
didn't take a break, so I was able to go through that and make my way finally out and be like, wow, that was freaking intense. But like, I made it through and I explored every place I needed to explore, kind of a thing. And it was only until later when I was like, all right, I still haven't found freaking armor. That's why I was like, all right, I'm going to map now, because like, I don't know if there's just places that I'm missing because I've gone through all the things before, and that's what drove me to map later. Because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't go back to the wrong dungeon. Because when I did go back, I did get better gear, but never got a lot of gear. I never saw a lot of gear.
Well, we'll talk about the shops here in a second, but the system is crazy as fuck for those too, of course, So, whatever. Jab, what were you gonna?
I can't remember exactly. I will say that, so I got into this, into my first dungeon when it occurred to me, these were a thing that were going to happen. And I was, oh, that's what I was going to say, is, I was asking you guys, I was like, these seem endless. I very seriously thought, to a degree, that they were procedurally generated.
That is, I knew they weren't, because there was a map.
I didn't. My dumbass didn't read the data sheet. Yeah,
so the data sheet has that there's a map. So I'm like, in my mind, they can't be. But when I was mapping that first one, and I didn't yet know that they were these 16 by 16 deals, I don't know. I don't know what my emotional state was, but I was flabbergasted.
So I was wandering around these things, and like you said, it occurred. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna need to map, and I was like, but I'm not prepared. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just going to kind of wander around, and certainly I will stumble on something of interest, or a different location or something.
I must. People don't make video games where nothing happens, right? that are real games. Exactly. There's that game, that the Penn and Teller bus game. There's the jokes or parodies of games where they try to do that, make a game that's about nothing. But that's not what these people are doing.
Certainly not that. And so I would just wander around for a while. I couldn't fucking figure anything out, so I would just load a different state and where I was outside of it, and then I went from there. So yeah. So wait, is this where we're at now? You don't ever do anything of interest in these dungeons?
No, I got good stuff from there.
It's debatable how you look at it, because you can't
buy things.
You can't get the best things, but you can certainly get things that make your life experience incrementally better, and give you some of that intermediary build of power that I've been citing here. So and that's per inroad to the shops. I'm wandering around, just wandering the first time I'm down here, and the first I don't know. I read that shit in the manual about the things, whatever. That's where shops and exits are. But what does that mean? I don't fucking know. Yeah, And so and most of these decorations on the floor aren't anything. They're just decorations. You walk on them, nothing happens. But randomly, when you walk on one, and the first time it happens, it's just like falling into the dungeon and falling into the parallel worlds and falling into the secret rooms. There's no discernible anything that indicates it's going to happen. So the first time it happened to me, I thought it was a glitch or something. I don't know what the fuck. I'm walking around trying to fight something probably, and suddenly I'm in this fucking thing, and you appear at the bottom of a ladder. That looks, it's a little bit reminiscent to me of a Legend of Zelda fucking treasure room or something. You just appear on this slightly different view of the world in what's a shop apparently. And there's a little wizard in a black robe. He's got red trimmings on the robe, and he's got matching red hair and beard. He stands next to his the wares where the 3 items are, and he's got a staff in hand. He's just kind of wiggling there. So what's this guy? It's all the same dude in all the fucking in all of them. And how bad of a job has this guy got? How often are motherfuckers down here? But whatever. And so the first one I find had what looked to me, anyways, like an orange drink for 30 Lutter. And I look in the manual, I'm like, okay, this restores 100 hit points, which I think is a very reasonable estimation of the amount of HP that Tang would recover in a human being. So I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. And then there's a chain helmet for 80. And the manual description of this is a chainmail helmet. It's better than nothing. And I laughed the fuck out loud the first time I read that. Yep. And then fire magic, and it's a very useful magic torch. Using this torch in a dungeon will help you find the exit. and I had a feeling that would be a very attractive item, although I bought one at one point. I never ended up using it because I didn't spend time in the dungeons because there's no reason to. But I thought, initially read that, and I'd been already wandering, I was like, fuck, I'll need that. So, yeah, I'm always going to go defense first. I score the chain helmet. I happen to have enough letter for it, thankfully. And when you do that, it disappears from the lineup. And you have to go to your sub-screen and actively equip it. You have to go, there's like a little, the bottom item row, there's down there. You have to go on top of it and hit A on top of it, and then it moves up into the defense box. And the message, chain helmet used, appears in the item box. And now it's equipped. And after doing that, I have 42 letter left. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this fucking potion, and you can't buy, I don't know if you guys tried it, you can't buy a second item. You have to leave.
He'll just shake his head at you, the old man's like,
No, one thing at a time. Go outside and get randomly ran into by some shit first, and then come back down, and sure, you can have this item. So yeah, just useless run around. Why? Oh
my God.
But I do that rigmarole, and I score the Tang, and this is where I first learned that what I thought was orange is actually red, and only begets me 50 HP. So I'm just getting fucked over and over and over again, And obviously,
same.
Like, I like cherry Kool-Aid too. I'm no Kool-Aid hater, but I'd like to be able to tell whether I'm drinking cherry Kool-Aid or fucking Tang with my bed purchases,
Right.
And they don't even give you that. And that, that's a problem with the scrolls. It's a problem with the crystals. There's nothing there. You can't highlight it. You don't get a name. You have to buy it first. It has to be in your inventory. You have to go to your inventory and then highlight it to see what the name of it is. And I am not exaggerating. Am I wrong or colorblind that there is no discernible difference between orange and red? For some reason. I don't have a reason for it.
Single time.
Yeah.
Every single
awful
time. Man.
Awful. Why? Why not? How could you look at that and not go and I understand it's probably as simple as a color palette thing, limitation, like we already described, but you gotta do something. There's gotta be a dot, there's gotta be something. There's gotta be some fucking thing that differentiates it visually because there's no other way to know.
On it. Put a C on it. Give me some, do something. It just.
Right, yeah.
Oh
awful.
My gosh. Talk about ruining my grind experience. You grinded thinking you're getting A and then you're
oh my God, that's
wait, what?
brutal.
Yeah. And early, it becomes literally fun later once you get that double shot and you get some speed on your weapon and you get a better sword. Killing those boundary towers becomes cake. You can come in and kill them before they even expand, and then it's literally just a pile of stuff.
Or I might even let them expand a little bit just to see what's dropping, just for funsies.
Just to be able to see it. Yeah, you can't tell otherwise. It's just a stack of fucking indiscernible pixels. I didn't care. I just want everything, so just whatever. And honestly, when you do that, even once you get a better weapon, it takes you longer to kill them if you let them extend. Even one pixel. If they extend one pixel, they take a few more hits to kill them. So I wasn't letting them do that, but I understand the inclination just to have some fun with it. Yeah, man. And again, another instance of that where just I'm thinking about OG hardware and I want to kill myself. Can you imagine? It's so much harder to kill those boundary towers early on is what I was getting at there, that it's real work early on to grind. And I might not even have fully figured out the boundary towers yet when I'm having this first shop experience. In fact, I certainly hadn't. So, it just so brutal. Now, in this case, I want that red potion too. I want to be able to recover 50 HP just as badly as I want to be able to recover 100. But to have it fuck you in that dumb way is just one of so many dagger turns that it's just terrible. It's just terrible game design. It's fucking.
Oh man, it's the same thing with even the necklaces. I thought I had I thought I'm gonna get a great necklace, and somehow it turned out to just be a green one, and I'm like, wait, no, that's not what I thought I was getting.
They are just so we're describing a very incremental difference between just 50 and 100 with this red orange potion.
Still,
so that one's not. Yeah, that sucks, but that's not nearly as bad as some of the orange scrolls do a completely different thing. Than
exactly,
the red
man. Oh my gosh, that one.
Super fucked. Super fucked. And having the orange scroll is so much more appealing.
Are you kidding me? I don't want the green scroll at all. What are we doing?
Yeah. Rough. Very rough. Anyhow, so, that's the only thing interesting other than finding the exit.
I never found an exit. so I never found an exit. I was like, there's no fucking way that I haven't stumbled on something like, I'm just going to try my luck somewhere else. And like, that's how I stumbled upon the towers. And then I started seeing shit happen there. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do things here. Yeah. So I never found an exit.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, I found it obviously inadvertently, like, because when you find them, like if you haven't seen this, Jab, when you like the room with the exit does have like a different color floor. It's blue. And I wasn't like, I was only in the 2 dungeons. So I was thinking like, maybe that's not the case in every dungeon, but I posted the picture when I found the exit with some like veiled thing about how like, it's like fucking, I don't know, an orgasm for a retro video gamer in the know to see this screen. And like, sure enough, like the disciples were like, yes, that's an exit. Holy fuck. Yeah, I know what you mean. So they do look different. And I immediately felt that it's distinct enough that when I first went onto the screen, I thought something unique was happening here.
No, I couldn't see it.
But again, there's obviously, that doesn't happen until you're on the screen. So there's just, I think there's an item that helps you find it. I don't know if it warps you there. There's one of those scrolls or crystals takes you to the exit.
Multiple. I've used multiple. Yep. The one that takes you to the exit is great. The one that just lights the way does not really work. Flames.
So this is the flame. Okay.
Yeah. I've lit that and then I'm like following the runes. Like, okay, this has got to be the way, but I never found it. I'm like, but
so what is it? It's just like a fireball that appears.
It's like 2 flames. No, it's like 2 flames that appear on the wall. So it's like, oh, that's over the exit you got to go in. So I go in that exit and I'm like, okay, I'm going this way. And then once I go in that room, there's flames over the entrance I just came in and then also across from it. So I'm like, all right, I'm still going that way. But eventually I get to the end and there's flames over nothing and it's a dead end. And I'm just like, what?
Oh my God. So it's not even taking you through the doors. It's taking you just, it's like, so it's just a beeline. You like figured out a way to go that way. That's fucking
it was so weird. And I was so frustrated because I'm like, all right, maybe the exit's like if I go up or down, and I would just eventually just get off the path and not even see flames anymore. And I'm like, what a useless thing. If I don't have that, if I don't have the
an allegory for the game on the whole, pointless. What a useless thing.
So useless.
I can't imagine fucking like getting this for like, fucking birthday or Christmas or fucking like renting a game and you're just fucked. You're fucked.
So fucked.
That's it.
Yeah. Especially the buy situation. Yeah. Where you're not getting another game till the next holiday. Oh God.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God. That's a Jerome at least qualified. He said he got it in like his dad like scored it in like a handful of like he got him a few games cheap or something. Good. So it was like it was not like it was not some game or something. Yeah, it was not some big Christmas purchase. Thank God. But
thank fucking God.
Just like no save states. Like you got a password. That doesn't mean anything.
Awful. Like So more just kind of just random shit show things down here. This very early. Because I'm trying to map this, so I'm trying to find all the shops and stuff, and I'm going in every room and da-da-da. I go into another store, and I get my first instance of buying something that I don't need even, So there's a sword upgrade in this first dungeon I'm in where you're just buying the short sword that you start the game with. So you have that short sword in the beginning of the game. Why is it in a store at all? And and there's no way to know that it is. Yes, it does. Like I said, it does have the 2 dots on the hilt, just like in the manual. But fuck you, fuck you. Yeah. Oh my God, man. Just so and you're spending 100 letter too. That's a lot of dough early on. Just God.
And you got to get that without. It's unbelievable. You can die. Wow. And you're just fucked.
Yeah. Oh, just fucking brutal. Man.
It is fucking insane, dude.
Yep. So the funny thing about it though. So I'm even this first one here. And I don't know it's 16 by 16 yet, so I don't know where I'm going. But I got into this hate loop where, like, I'm going to map this whole fucking thing come hell or high water. And, yeah, I just couldn't believe, like, I know, like, I had done the math, like, over 200 rooms. Like, okay, that's a lot, sure. But I'm just going and going and going, and I'm save scumming every fucking screen. And, dude, I mean, hours. This first one.
Every screen? That is madness.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I wasn't, that's not a joke, Jay. I had the whole game.
I thought it was hyperbole. I mean, I understand a lot of saving, but that's a lot.
I was at a few,
especially the dungeons.
You were mapping. I was not.
Yeah, especially the dungeons, because in the map in that even mapping, I still would get lost. Because I whatever. Like you have to save low because fucking a thing. It is a little bit
And
hyperbole.
how do you decide
Maybe not every
which
single
room?
screen, but every 2 or 3 screens, you know? So, like, was it 2 or was it 3? I can't remember. So then you have to walk around a little bit and, like, re-get your bearings based on what rooms don't have doorways or have a circle on the floor, you know? And, like, waste some time doing that. So, yeah, I spent so much fucking time in here just kind of whatever, you know? This wandering and, like, trying to map it. And, like, yeah, if you don't know it loops after 16 rooms on a particular line, you think it's just going. And like, I sent you guys the picture of my first map, right? Like, it's like, you know, it's my worst nightmare for mapping because the idea of having to like, oh, I hit the edge of the graph paper and start over on some other part of the page is like my worst anal retentive nightmare. And like, this is just doing that to me. I don't even know how many times, dude. There's like 6 of them or something on this first page, you know? And like, yeah, dude, I wandered fucking forever, man. And like, eventually I'm like, what? I didn't look it up until this happened, but like, I basically hit an area. I had found the exit, and like, so that's like there's only one of those. I know that. So I had found the exit already, and I kept mapping, and then like, dude, I'm like, the bottom left quadrant of this piece of paper, I fucking have the exit in, and then I find an exit into this half-assed area that I'd mapped all the way up into the top right corner. I'm like, how can there be 2? Whatever. And I'm like looking at the map, I'm like, those areas are identical. Like, there's like, whatever. For whatever reason, it was identifiable. They were both the same exact layout. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Do these just loop? Oh my God. So then I go to the wiki. I go to the wiki and I look at the map and I see, yes, that they're 16 by 16 grids. And oh my God, dude, the pain. The fucking pain. I spent so much time, wasted time, making that first map and just, oh my God, just so brutal, dude. Brutal. And there's like a million shops, and like the shops, so the shops have, based on where you're at in the game, and the progress of this game is the towers, so based on where you're at, how many of the bells you've acquired, it changes what's in the shop. So even if you go back to, if you don't know that,
that's the whole reason I went back.
Sure. And that's, once you know that, that's great. But if you don't know that, you can go back to the same dungeon. Say someone isn't trying to play thoroughly and like they're like not on the mind, like, I'm never coming back to this dungeon ever again, you know? So like they see something they want in the shop. They end up leaving because again, you can't load. So if you just happen to wander up, because the only way you're trying to find shops when you find the exit, you know, if you don't know the blue floor, I guess once you learn that, this isn't true. But whatever the case, if you leave the dungeon and decide you're going to come back to get this item that you saw in a shop later, you can come back to do that after, for whatever reason you end up beating a tower or 2 after this moment. You can come back to that same shop, go through all the work of doing that, and the item you want in the shop not be there. And sure, that's how the real world works, maybe. But that's not how fucking video game shops work, and that is
while supplies last.
Yeah, exactly. Fucked up, man. Fucked up. And there are a million shops, and each shop has 3 tiers of stuff. So like, there were like, I think it's 7 or 8 different like models of different possible shops. And each one of those 8 models had the 3 tiers based on the bells to them. And like, that model would be in different dungeons. So there's 10 dungeons and each dungeon it doesn't necessarily have all 8 models. So just like, oh God, man, with it, just, oh God, if you don't have a piece of paper and a wiki to check and you're just trying to figure this all out,
insanity.
You kill yourself. I just don't know. I just feel so bad for every kid that had like the brute force will to do it. Like fucking.
I want to know the kid that did. Like
they exist. There's morons that, I mean, not morons. Psychopaths, I guess, that that guy you like, Jab. Did that guy do this game? Have you watched that one?
Oh, that's a good question. I should look that up.
Yeah, because he plays those games blind, and that's crazy. We gotta watch that. Actually, we should. You know what we should do? I should send you a fucking VR headset, Jab, and we should do a big screen. We should do one of the VR sit and watch the movie together things with whatever Lorik Disciples. Half of them have fucking quests now because of how much I talk about it, which is great. So we can sit down and do a group viewing of that guy playing this game cold, and just it's got to be insane. It's got to be insane because he finished it. He had to take direction from. There had to be people in the chat that steered him through it. There's just no way.
He doesn't like that though. He tells him not to.
I know, but there had to, dude. There's no way that you could beat this. There's no way that you could beat this game just figuring it out. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
If this was your only game,
and this motherfucker played it. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's early on. It had to be. He played him in the order of the release, right? So there's no way that he isn't there. Yeah. Yeah, we gotta.
Oh my god, it's number 5.
That's great. Yeah. So send that to the group chat. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
So these tiers are actually 0 to 2 bells, 3 and 4 bells, and 5 to 7 bells. Basically, is the way it fucking works. But you can get different shit, and you look at the tables, and there's only basically 2 items that I think are worth going back to a dungeon other than 10, and 10 is the one that's in the overworld or in the underworld area. You know what I mean? Where the towers are. So again, I guess that all summates as you just don't have to do these. It's like I forget what it is. It's like one of the helmets, like one of the intermediary helmets, maybe the iron helmet and the mace. But even the mace you can get once from the towers. But the thing is, the mace, we'll get to that, is a consumable item, even though it sounds like a weapon. It's not. It's a consumable item. So you don't have to dick with them. And they're just emotionally so much. It's crazy. That's the case, It's fucking crazy. I have a bunch of dumb shit in here too, but I guess I don't know. I kind of want to just stop talking about them. I guess I think we kind of covered the bulk of it. There's a bunch of items and shit, but even that stuff, like plate armor I got down here, the normal glove, the lion shield I got down here.
And those were good increases.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
And
actually, this is worth talking about, I guess. So some of this stuff's like the lion shield is made of iron, so it's part of there's actually, they have armor sets, dude. And it claims you get bonuses for having the whole set, which I think is crazy. Wow. You know, that is a very, I don't know, to me, advanced fucking game function that I was very surprised for this to have, you know. There's a whole iron set, and then there's the whole Hyperion set, or Hyper set, of course. So there are advantages to doing that. I don't really have. Yeah. You guys have anything else for dungeons?
No, really. Just that I literally thought they were procedurally generated.
That's a reasonable assumption. Okay, so let's get a little side questy then, and do a few rounds of bestiary annals. Jay, tell us about your first bestiary annal for Deadly Towers.
All right, my first one would be the Were Tiger. Be especially careful around the black Were Tiger. It's not only dangerous but cruel too. So don't forget that. Like, it'll step on your toe just to make you angry.
Were they the ones? No, that was the ones I have, the giraffe-looking ones that move. Those are the ones that had the most distinct. Like, each one had its own movement thing, you know. Did you do any of the with them? Did you use that item that changes the way they work? There's I think it's maybe the red crystal, or one of the items basically freezes all the humanoids. And allows you
I've definitely done that for sure. Absolutely. Because I tried using that multiple times since, to your point, save states. Let me just try this on different things. Yeah. And so I was frustrated. It only works on specific things like this guy.
The humanoids, and it's also temporary, and a very brief temporary, no less. So
and how much does that cost to use?
It's all those crystals are kind of like they're all like in 100 or below. Yeah, they're all between 50 and 100. Yeah, see, a lot of the consumable stuff, like I said, the only real ones that were any worth or at all worth the fucking effort was the orange scroll that teleports you down to the fire after you beat a bell or get a bell, so you don't have to deal with the fucking descent back down. Probably that blue necklace. Really the only ones I ever fucked with any regularity or with any attention, I should say. Jab, what's your first?
That would be the Killer Hound.
Took mine, you fuck.
Yeah, it's a good one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Rubus tried to humanize a dragon but failed.
Yeah, I loved the description.
Is the Killer Hound. What is that? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love that they're like this failed genetic experiment, which I think perfectly role plays to what I also liked about them is that they have the most limited of all the movesets. They're the ones that only move horizontally. You know what I mean? So the idea that this genetic defect doesn't have full mobility makes a lot of sense.
That's fun. I didn't. Yeah. My question was why Hound? It's a dragon.
Right.
Why Hound?
Right. And also, like I said, to me they look like giraffes. So a lot of questions. But you know, the idea that it doesn't place perfectly if they're again failed genetic experiment, then it makes perfect sense that there's a lot of ambiguity to what we discern to be their phylum, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, my first one is bats because fuck them. And like they don't have a manual description, which I think is hilarious. That at least unless they're the flying rats, which I don't know if I saw any rats that were flying, so maybe that's what these are. But the idea that to me, what was without a doubt the most fucked up enemy in the whole game, you know? And I don't even know if you guys, did you guys even jab? I assume you didn't because you didn't need to. Jay, you found the rooms where those motherfuckers were just like the secret room, basically.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
holy
gosh.
Fuck. So
that's why I tried to use that item, save that item for those rooms specifically. And of course it didn't work then. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like,
yep. Well, which item are you talking about?
The one that froze everything. Like I tried to save it for specifically
there is an item that is
around and it did not freeze them, sadly. I was so bummed.
Yeah, there is an item that's meant for those. I didn't think to use them for it, but there is an item that's meant to be for those. And when we get into the towers, we'll talk about that. But word. Okay. What's your second one, Jay?
Second one, I'm going with crud. It looks like a liquid, but it is not. It is a jelly-like creature that has no shape. It sticks to and melts the player. And I like these things because they often gave me hearts when I needed them. So I don't know if that was like a program thing or just happened to be RNG. But I didn't really find
it's 100% RNG, but that's the kind of emotional shit you latch onto when you're experiencing trauma.
Yeah. Give me those hearts.
Yeah,
give them to me right now.
Yeah, trying to make sense of the world around you. That when you're having total agency ripped from your clutches is the kind of thing the human brain does. So that makes a lot of sense that you had done that. Jab, what's your second one?
Just because I like the name, and I was kind of wondering what it was when I first saw it, and the name doesn't give it any exposition. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but wallfish.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This groundfish lives in the walls inside the tower and outside of the castle.
Yeah. And yeah, they're the things that just crawl up and bounce just fly between the walls, you know,
those are the ones that are like they have the depth. Like there's the hole in the walls. They're blue and they sit inside that. Right?
Oh, they come out. Okay,
yeah,
okay, word.
And then they like slither out on like that angle.
Yeah,
like,
okay,
out of their hole, and then they go back in.
Okay.
And it's like I was like, what the fuck is that? Like I thought it was a slime or something. Turns out it's a fish, a wall fish.
Interesting. Yeah, I loved those. Those were probably the easiest thing in the tower, actually.
Yeah, those very easy.
It was very calculable. You could tell what angle they were going to come out on. Everything
like slow.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, my fave for sure. I hear that. Okay, yeah. My second one's also a tower thing, the ghosts, and only in the towers, and they are a fucking nightmare. There's a bunch of different kinds, and the manual description there are several different ghosts inhabiting the towers. All are deadly, draining the human spirit, and should be avoided or killed when possible. So you should do one of all your possible options when encountering them. Good luck. Yeah, dude. I mean, you know, if I'm going to attribute save scumming to like a certain enemy, I guess maybe the bat. I don't think so, actually. I think the ghosts, because they do more damage. There were more times I certainly got fucked by bats more, and some of them can really fuck you up. It's kind of amazing how hard some of the bats can hit you, but not all of them. So there were enough times where I would get fucked by a bat and just be like, okay, I can deal with that emotionally. But if you get into a fucking ghost problem,
over.
You're loading. It's over. So yeah, these were probably the thing that made me load the most in my playthrough.
And they go invisible when you hit them, is it?
They can, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that maybe they
spamming,
do. Yeah.
Like, wait, it goes invisible, so I'm going to keep hitting that direction until it drops some letter for me.
Right. Word, number 3, Jay?
The small devil. These devils live in the magic palace. Indeed, they are devils. Their attack and defense powers are strong, which I did not find them to have strong defense powers at all. But I will say,
what are not strong? I don't even know what they are.
They're like the little things that I thought they were like butterflies, calling them devils.
Okay.
They would just go up and like a north-south, up and down attack when you're climbing the towers. So not really a threat, I would say.
I was maybe thinking, like, I want to give honorable mention. You took my third one, so I don't have one, so I'll mention this instead. I kind of like those cute little marmots in the cages on the overworld map, you know? Like as you're climbing next to it.
Yeah. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah,
you kill them and they're just
they can shoot you, but they rarely do.
They can shoot you? I never had that happen.
Yeah, they absolutely they can, but again, like I don't know what triggered it. But they can, but they usually didn't, and you could obviously just walk up right next to them and kill them, and be it. You know, they can only shoot down, they can't shoot sideways, so you could definitely just kind of walk up and cheese them, you know. But they were pretty cute, and it sucked they were in cages, I guess. But those don't have a thing in the manual, so I thought, at least I didn't think they were in the manual, so I thought maybe you were going to tell me that's what you thought they were, which is why I'm bringing them up. Jab, what's your last?
I didn't kill those little critters in the cages.
That's nice. That's probably kinder. I want the hearts.
Yeah, it's one of the only roleplay options you get, so I didn't kill him. My third was the Weir Monkey. Okay. And just because those are funny words to put together, but the description's funny too. A humanoid monkey with the sly cleverness of a human. Its personality is moody. It mainly appears in dungeons.
Again, I just love the writing for it. It's just so, I don't know, it's so weird. So quirky. I guess maybe quirky is better.
It is a little quirky. That's a good way to put it.
Agreed. Word after these messages.
We'll be right back.
U-Force for Nintendo. U-Force. U-Force. Nothing but you, and the game.
With the U-Force power field, nothing comes between you and the game.
U-Force.
That is a U.S. market commercial for the U-Force peripheral, which, just like Deadly Towers, was also poorly made and then distributed by Broderbund. All right, let's get out of brass tacks and talk towers. After I finally made my way back up from that first dungeon experience, there was at least a max HP pickup right there to assuage my fucking PTSD-inducing experience. But from there, I kind of just railroaded up to the towers, and you walk into this area, and I don't know, were you guys implored to explore it, or did you just go into one of those caves? I guess is maybe a first good question.
Basically, I just didn't finish the part in the dungeon, but I couldn't get anything done in the dungeon. I couldn't figure out that there was anything going on at all in there. So I was like, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And then I ended up in this area because I didn't read the fucking book.
Oh, yeah, I totally inadvertently. Yeah, I was just like, I did not expect to see it when it happened.
Yep.
I was thrilled to see something new.
It's definitely like a different like palette, and like the whole vibe is different. So like, I found one. I went in, and like I just, again, like you find like, now you find a tower, and like it's like you said, it instantly became like a video game to me.
Yep.
Instantly was like, okay, I know what the mission is here. I can see how this functions. Like I see what the layout is. You know, you get it. And I went from there.
When I found one, of course I saved and just explored it. So the first one I went in was like I landed in a parallel zone like multiple times. And so the first one I went in also had that freaking chalice. So I'm like, oh, and of course, because I have the manual up, and I'm focused this time.
That must be in the one you see when you first walk on the screen, because I just went straight in one.
So now I'm like, I go in there, I die, and I'm like, I don't want to keep dying. I'm clearly weak at this point. Like I have minimal stuff, and I don't really need that chalice thing, so I just ignore that and go up.
Well, you're all the way. You're jumping ahead hardcore, because there's a whole intermediary part before you get to inside the tower where that happens. Parallel zones, I guess, are on the outside, so maybe you are talking about that. I can't recall.
Yeah, so that kind of like derailed me. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it was going to be like a climb to the tower part, and then you're in the tower part.
Right,
and it's
right.
Oh my gosh. So like, I thankfully, because of all my time spent in the dungeon before coming here, I had an orange crystal, or the one that warps you to the holy flame, whatever color that one is. I had that. So once I actually got through here and made it all the way through, I was feeling good because I was like, I'm not fighting my way back. I'm warping immediately. Now, I wish I had held that until later on in the game.
That first one, you definitely don't want to
much
burn on
rather.
that. Yeah.
But the first tower was pretty much a breeze for me because of all these things outside of the parallel zone.
Right. Yeah, well, I walked in here and like I didn't even think to explore. Just I was maybe so excited that I found something new. So yeah, I went straight into this fucking thing and like I did not expect you go into a cave mouth and like I don't expect that to come out where you're at, but like it takes you out into this external deal that's like eventually I discerned was like the outside of a tower or like the base, like the stone base of the tower.
The base is what I thought.
I guess is what it is. And yeah, it kind of reminded me a lot of the Zool stairway sequence in Ghostbusters, if you guys recall that, and how shitty that was. Like just kind of this like repetitive, really punitive experience where just dumb shit is just running into you. And it is. There's just like, it's a lot of the dumb shit out here, kind of just like the overworld. You got the bats, the spiders. You know, they come down on like these silk threads. There's fucking shit flying out of the holes. But the bats are probably the real thing. And then later on, you'll get a lot of the big ghosts and stuff too that also are fucked. But this early one, it's all bats that I think are the shitty part.
100%.
You know, they just kamikaze right at you, of course.
100%.
But other than that, it's just, a monotonous, every floor is identical trip up, maybe 10 floors or so. And one interesting thing of note here, there is Christian iconography. There's fucking crosses everywhere. So Nintendo hadn't busted out their whooping sticks about that, I guess, in this case. Or maybe more importantly, or more aptly, they didn't. The playtesters never came anywhere near this far in the game to find them is probably actually a better reason for that.
That actually is probably the actual answer.
Right. And then at the top is an open doorway with a bat emblem above it. Heading in there, cuts to a black card that says Tower in real small white text, center mass. And inside here is the same deal. It's like a floor-by-floor go, ladders connecting straight up to the next, and they try to jazz up the decor with little nooks with tchotchkes in them, teapots and shit like that. But otherwise, it's just an ugly two-tone deal in every single one of these. And it's the same kind of thing as the tower climb, just like the best strategy is to try to take out as much on that next floor as you can before you go up there. Or eventually you learn to do the ladder thing too, to be able to, you can go halfway up the ladder and nothing can get you, if it's not flying anyways, can get to you and you can just kind of pop it off with the 45-degree shots. You interestingly
But that's the whole problem though, dude. It's literally just the flying people. That is the whole problem. Either the flying ghost, or the flying bats. Otherwise, you're good. Like you can navigate everything else. But those things, you get 3 of those flying on the screen at once, and you're fucked. You can drop from 280 to 0
real fast. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not a game. It's not. There's no. You can't do the idea of doing them without save scumming is inconceivable.
I can't.
It's inconceivable. It's inconceivable.
Not possible.
I mean, well, no. I was gonna say like certainly somebody has like speed run this, but I would think it's gotta include save states.
I don't think saves.
I can check.
I don't think. Someone's sped running for some. No, someone has the math. Some maniac has the math for sure. But I wouldn't. The amount of fence testing you'd have to do, is insane.
No thanks.
It's insane.
And what do you get at the end of it? You sped run.
Yeah, well, that's all those speedrunners ever get from any of this, though. So
I got a speed run 31:43, so it's definitely.
Oh God! I mean, obviously you know everything by heart for that, but that still pains me to think about.
I wonder if they die.
Well, and they don't. They can't die. The lead person definitely didn't die, but again, there's so much of this is optional. You don't have. If you know the math, you can probably fucking cook through. You just cook straight to the towers.
If you knew all the locations too, you're like, all I know is I need these places in these towers.
Yep.
I'm sure you could.
I would be curious to know if the lead speedrunner did that thing where they ran in and got the shit that makes the game easier, the good items.
Yeah.
Or if they just totally got the math and didn't even worry about that shit and just went straight to the bells and straight to Agrubus. I'd be curious to hear. Or no, but so this the first time we're our first parallel world here. I didn't get anything outside the tower, even though I'm sure there is something. But my first thing was a parallel world I found in the tower. And yes, it cuts to a black card. The text says parallel world. And then this joint looks exactly like the tower. There's nothing, so it's parallel indeed, I guess. It is literal, but I still, you don't know what to make of it. And yes,
Seems harder though. It's just,
maybe, yeah.
Physics
I was
more
like, oh my
intense.
gosh.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
It's faster, definitely.
Perhaps not enough, but it looks the same. And yes, they put a chalice here. So there is like that one visual difference, and like I guess like it teaching you that there's going to be shit you haven't seen otherwise here, so it's attractive to go to them. And also I felt like this one, Jay, you hit it, I hit it, I wasn't looking for them yet. So I feel like it must be a lot probably like that one dungeon we talked about, that it's gonna be really hard to get past without falling into, So there may be some intelligent design to that, I guess. But yeah. Still not. I don't know. Just confusing. Very confusing.
I'm not even sure. Like, I mean, I don't even know. What do you find in parallel? I went into it, like, I found it one time, and I think I texted the group chat, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then, like, everything was harder. The music was more intense. Probably made my heart rate go up. And I was like, I'm not going to fuck with this right now. And then I never fucked with it again. I was, of course, decked out with all the best gear. Right. So.
Yeah, I mean, other than this one, like I said, I would go through, other than this one, I would go through 2 full towers and never have any of that happen, Secret Room or Parallel World again. So if you're not trying to, you won't, for sure, find them for the most part, I presume. So, yeah, that's not surprising to hear at all.
And I've gone through Parallel Worlds, like one specifically in the tower, like that's not in a specific tower, like it's in that area where the Deadly Flame is. There's a parallel world.
Yeah.
And I get nothing from there. I'm like, I searched it and I never even got anything from that one. And I was like, oh
Jay,
my gosh.
Jay, this is going to break your brain. I think that's the one where there is a parallel world or a secret room inside of the parallel world.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I shit you not. Yeah. So you go into these things, and like the exit is just as indeterminate as the entrances. To find the exit from the parallel worlds, you again have to just wander the walls and
like,
find it.
I found an exit.
And yes, like you said, the enemies are harder. You're inside of another thing that's already hard. Like it sucks. It just sucks, man. It just fucking sucks. And when you come back out, the enemies have respawned.
Yep.
In the tower. And like that was one thing I was giving it credit for, is that like it doesn't just shit doesn't like once you kill the thing, it's gone. You don't have just random respawns when you come back to a spot you've already been. So that is like one level of reprieve it gives you. But when you come out of those parallel worlds or secret rooms, they're back. So, if you go into those and there's either something that you don't want or isn't appealing or whatever.
Or you don't see anything.
Right, exactly. Then, there's no benefit to that having happened to you, and fuck.
So demoralizing. Demoralizing. Like, going into one of those and getting the parallel shot was just like, oh my gosh, so worth it. Bring it on enemies.
Yeah, I mean, this
versus going in there.
There are ones that are, that are
and
just
being like, oh my gosh, why? Like,
all the best shit is in here, and it's so gratifying. Although we'll get to those too. Those are also have their own form of demoralization. But this is certainly not the case in this first tower. There's nothing that great. It's just that chalice, as far as I found. I think there might be one other one, but it's not anything, like I said, that I was sad to have missed. But it's another 10 floors or so of the actual tower interior, and then you get to a cave mouth that looks just like the entrance is at the bottom of the tower, and you walk in here, and again it cuts to black, and this is the Cold Killer's room is the text that you get, and this is each one of these. This is the boss name basically, and they call them their rooms at the top of each one of these towers, and they're one screen battle arenas. Looks like what's behind me right now. And I presumed this case it was the Cold Killer. They only have the one Death Bear in the manual, so you don't get pictures, but I presume that's what it is. And the Cold Killer is a huge blue and white sprite. Maybe looks like a gorilla with horns, perhaps. And it flies back and forth, despite seemingly no wings or any other flying apparatus. And it is kind of buzzing back and forth in front of this little nook in the back wall where you can see a little tiny ladder and a pedestal, but there's nothing on it behind it. This will be where the bell appears after you kill it. But in the case of this particular boss, he just flies back and forth. He shoots these slow floating fireballs that all the bosses have this kind of projectile to them. They do a little bit, maybe slightly different flight paths and stuff, but it's not a big difference between any of them, I would say. And they all certainly look the same as far as the projectile goes. And then some of them have it, some of them don't. This one does. They have what looks like a bounder ball scooting back and forth in front of it. And I presumed that this would be like a force field or something that like helped its defense effort or whatever, but those, you can shoot those and it does damage to the boss.
Yep. Visually
anyways, just the same. So I don't exactly know what they are or what purpose they have.
I thought they were like a defense thing too, and then I think I killed a boss hitting it with one.
Exactly.
I was like, so it does damage. Cool.
Yep.
Great.
So yeah,
there.
Who the fuck knows? But that's kind of how they all are. We can briefly talk on them here in a second. Each one of them, the subtle differences, except for the one, of course. But basically, they're all just kind of the same thing. And yeah, I mean, the first time I come in here, man, like, strategy for this beats the shit out of me, man. I went through a few go-rounds. Sorry,
imagine you come up to this thing, like, you're a fucking kid. You're poor Jerome again. And, like, you've finally gotten, this far? And, like, you come in, you don't know the strategy, and you just get smoked.
Absolutely marked. Yeah. Absolutely marked. Like, I'm like trying to like stick and move, like get good kind of thing. And yeah, man, I mean, I rolled in the first time, I had 150 max and I come into this on a save state with 124. So I was lasting maybe like 4 hits, from this fucking dude. And yeah, I mean, a few honest battles with like that defeatist mindset. I was like, there's got to be like, I'm not doing it right. It's not. There's got to be some cheese, even though like, you've done enough fighting to this point where like there's just not a lot of variance to the battle. There's 8 directions and hit the button. Like there's not. What do you do? It's not like there's no combos. There's no fucking I don't know. There's no nothing like advanced battle tactics. So yeah, I was like very kind of just defeatist until I thought to myself like there's got to be a place. It's got to be. There's got to be a place to stand that's stupid. Or not stupid, I guess, ultimately. But like, as far as like video game mechanics go, stupid to help you mitigate the danger. And yes, there is, of course. How hard of a job did you guys have finding what that is?
Not hard at all, man. No? Not hard at all. Like, I was going to ask the screenshot you have right behind you, is that your actual? Because I just naturally was like, angles. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. So, like, pieced him up, no problem after that point. I was like, oh, great. Does damage to this ball too? Done. Yep. So that would be my employed strategy for, like, the next 4, and it would be no problem.
Okay. Jab, was there a lot of trial and error? I suppose with that, especially with that armor set and stuff, I would think you walked in here and tried to just brute force it, no?
There was a couple times where I was actually able to brute force it. There is enough variance in some of the bosses, because I fought Wheeler first. So, okay. I mean, I don't know if that is a harder or easier boss, but
right.
Either way, I know, I can't remember who it was or how it worked, but like, I think I was able to just like stand in one spot and just like button mash. And with Parallel and Splendor, I was able to kill a couple, I think. But yeah, definitely a few times I had to get in the corner, walk into the wall, and then 45 yourself from there and just shoot.
Yeah, my mental inroad to this was the ladder stuff. Like when I was trying to think of like, again, I'm like, what are the systems? Like what are the cheeses? What are the tactics?
What options do I have available?
Yeah, what are the things, and like the ladders.
When you say the ladder stuff, what do you mean? Like, I don't know.
When you're on the ladders, you can do the same thing basically, where you hold at an angle on the ladders and you don't move, but you shoot in the direction, the angle direction, the intercardinal direction. So that being like an advanced thing, in quotations, was what sparked the idea to try this against the bosses. And like going to the walls was the only thing I could think of that might stop me. And make it work, you know what I mean? To be able to hold the direction and not actually move, And like it shouldn't work. You get stuck on what seems like shouldn't get stuck on. Although we didn't mention it with the overworld. You can get stuck on the pillars and stuff walking around the overworld super easy. So that also, like, the hit detection,
oh my God,
I knew
you
was
caught so fucking easy too.
yeah, so easily. We didn't bring that up, but like the hit detection was, or not hit detection, I guess, but the contact detection is so fucking stupid at times that I thought maybe I could glitch into something or something too, you know. So kind of all that amalgamation of whatever, you know, chinks in the armor of this game's code eventually led to me kind of sorting this out. But I had my failed fucking efforts before I got to it for sure. Word. So the next time, like, I came in and did the one, and he was still able to get me sometimes. So I came in the next time and like found like a completely clean, like he wasn't able to get there at all. So like even that was a good learning thing because it taught me that like there's multiple things to try, I guess.
Yep.
With this option set, you know.
I had the same experience. I was like, oh, I can get this done, like getting out of here with like 40 health, or I can get it done getting out of here with like, 200 or something.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
So once I learned that, after, I don't know, maybe 80 hits or something, and it's a fucking lot. It's not a small number when you have the
oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, the early weaponry and shit. But it dies, like the screen flashes through a rainbow of colors. That's why the one's pink behind me. That's not how, that's like, I think that's with it dying, I believe. Maybe not. I don't know. I can't recall. Whatever the case, the screen flashes a bunch of colors, and you don't even get the common courtesy of a celebratory victory ditty or reach around, the bastards, but no any kind of like reward for it dying, even an auditory one, and I think that sucks. But whatever. The bell appears on the pedestal immediately, and then you can walk up and pick that up, and then it gets added to your inventory, and it does give you the weakest of weak sound cues for that. It is just one long, piddly, drawn-out note, and while that is maybe emotionally fitting, it still sucks from a developer choice standpoint. And then to wrap this experience up, we've alluded to it a bunch already, but you gotta trundle your ass all the way back down out of the tower, floor by floor, just like when you came up, through the interior, through the exterior, and just what a prize, mind you, like on OG hardware, and have to deal with all that RNG again. All the enemies are back, everything, you know. And sometimes I guess maybe they get harder on the way down.
It's the worst. Like definitely on the 6th and 7th bell. Like I feel like I would beat the boss, not much problems with the boss, and then struggle bus. All of a sudden, there's 4 different ghosts besetting me at the beginning, right when I come out, before I can go down. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on here? It feels like it got way harder there.
Yeah, and honestly, that's maybe a thing with just the way the game works because of kind of, I guess, the scrolling of it. Coming down, this is applicable to coming down the towers after each individual bell. This is applicable to coming down the mountain to get back to the beginning at the end of the game. Like, moving down is harder because you don't get as much vision of what is there, you know what I mean? So it inherently makes it harder just functionally, even outside of, like, you know, whatever. Even if there's a math change too, who knows? But you definitely just functionally it gets harder because you can't see where shit is, and sucks, man.
I just cannot imagine beating it. Like, god damn, has anyone ever beat this straight through? Like,
crazy. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, I mean those orange scrolls, you know, again, kind of talking about, like I said, playing this game the way we are, knowing a little more. But if you're just totally blind and maybe a little like just giving it the old college try and taking it the way it really wants you to work the game, like, you know, I think the way it really wants you to play this game is you beat a bell tower or two and it gets a little too hard, and then you go back to the dungeons and you do a little stockpiling, get another potion, get a scroll, whatever. So, you know, in that case, you're getting the orange scrolls maybe to come back and not have to deal with these, you know, but that's obviously way more runaround than you want to deal with. Especially if you're just trying to get out of this game because holy fuck, we're doing a podcast here.
And what other game do you actually beat a boss and you get whatever thing you're supposed to get, and then it gets harder? Right? It's not like, oh, you got like you beat Mega Man, you get a great weapon. You should be able to go and clear a new area. Not like, hey, good luck getting out of this stage. Ha ha ha. You know. Oh,
yeah, it's like beating a Mega Man level, then you have to go back through it, and the enemies whose boss you just beat are harder now. Like, what?
Right?
Tough.
And you
Also,
barely
shouldn't I just
scraped
teleport out of
through.
here? This is bullshit.
Yep.
Right.
So there are 6 of these, like I said, that are pretty much identical. There's the Death Bear, there's the Great Burn, there is the Great Wing Tower, or the Great Wing, I should say. There's the Beet Plant, which is the weakest of the names. I like most of the names. I think they're all pretty good and fun.
I like the Beat Plant's sprite. That was crazy.
Yeah, agreed. Just like a big blob to me. I don't know. It was kind of like, I don't know. It was
An angry beat.
Right, sure. And then Wheeler, like you said. So yeah, they're not terribly different as far as the functionality of the bosses go. You'll have to like I said, there's some where it's best to go to the left side of the room versus the right, and some where you're not able to avoid it entirely at all, but one side does allow you to avoid it a little better, and you can hopefully power through. You know, there's a little bit of variance to them, but I think it applies to both the visual and the functional. Not a lot, you know, and like the rooms are a little different. Sometimes they're a little smaller, sometimes they're bigger, you know, but they're all on that angle deal, and it's all kind of the same thing, with the exception of the centipede one, which is
threw a wrench in my whole plan
for sure, but to a credible degree, I think. Like
it's good.
Yeah, it's like kind of new everything. Even the room is different. And that really surprised me, maybe even more so than the boss sprite. But yeah, it's a huge centipede that flies back in like a sine wave pattern, back and forth. And you would have to... This is the first time I felt you had to change anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I was like, I can't stand in one spot. I gotta move around. I gotta, move around.
Yeah, you got to rat-a-tat-tat his ass, and then try to like navigate the stuff that he's dumping as he moves to the other side of the room, and try to get to the other side and get some shots in at an angle before he gets back over there, you know? So... Yeah, I was pleased with the difference there for sure. Other thing to talk about with these is the items you get and the parallel rooms and the experiences of finding them. That first one we talked about at the Chalice, that wasn't a big loss. Death Bear was my second one. I didn't even think to look for anything in there, but it was nothing that was important to me. The Great Burn had the Dragon Slayer, and this is the second best sword of the game. Is on floor 4 of the actual tower, and then the double shot is on the 7th floor of the exterior tower ascent. So yeah, Jay, you didn't get either one of these things then, I presume. Did you get the Dragon Slayer or no?
No, man, I missed them both. I feel like you sent me the thing about Great Burn, and I had went to Great Burn like yesterday or just previously, and it was just like, damn, that sucks, man.
That's tough, yeah.
And I was playing this straight up because I feel like, I mean, you know me, I was. Wherever I was landing, that's where I was going. Like I was looking around, trying to go in these places, and I just didn't even run into them in that tower. So it wasn't even like I went in and I was like, "Oh, this is tough." Like it was just I went through. I just never experienced one, so I didn't even know it existed there, which sucks.
Yeah, I was playing this one, so this is the third one I'm tackling, and I'm going up. I think I was on the exterior, or maybe I had just gotten into the tower, but for some reason, I don't know if you at the chat brought it up or something, but that's when it like dawned on me that like I had been through 2 towers and hadn't accumulated anything really. And I'm like, oh my God. There's no going back. That's right. What have I fucked myself on? So like I walk my ass right up to the wiki gods immediately, no hesitation, and start reading shit. And like, yes, I felt like, okay, the Great Burn one, these 2 things are here, the Dragon Slayer and the double shot. Like, fuck, thank God. I look at the ones I'd been in, and oh, thank God, nothing I'm sad about. So lucky, so happy. Probably maybe the happiest in all of my play, actually.
It figures.
That I had cheated, basically. This moment that I thought to cheat, I was the happiest moment of my entire playthrough.
And that is my frustration, because the one time that I don't do that, because I have no shame looking at a wiki and being like, all right, I'm doing this for podcast purposes. I have no problem looking at this, but I'm trying to play this purely straight, and I get fucked because of it. Thanks a lot.
I can feel you. I can feel your sadness. It's funny when I can feel you having a really bad experience and that you might quit. I can feel it in the chat, and I felt kind of like maybe you were there at that.
I was getting there too, actually.
So bummed, man, because I was feeling so good before that, like arms rolling around, and then realizing there's stuff I haven't seen, and now there's stuff I will never get. Great.
That's the funny thing. We both had it. I could tell both of us fucking like, yeah, I had that. There was a, and this is about when it started to happen for me, is when like I get what I accept as not cheating even though it is because of how this game is, and like using that as part of my flow and making it playable. Basically, I got into it. Like, I'm fucking enjoying this, man. I start stacking items and like really having fun. And like, yeah, we both had that. And it's funny how you know, mine kind of, I didn't get into it until a certain point, and I never had to ramp back down. Yours kind of like had this more of a parabolic view deal to it, where like it had a peak in the middle and then had to go back down, and you could definitely feel it in the chat. It was great.
It was not great, but sure.
Great from afar. I understand that.
Yes.
Great from your perspective. Yeah. So okay, so I'm got with the it's maybe to some degree. I mean, I guess you did have them eventually anyway, so it doesn't matter. But with this Dragon Slayer one, like, it tells me where it is, and like I'm like, okay, I worked my way down to the 4th floor, coming out of the bell acquisition. So yeah, I was actually at the bell. That's where it was. I had gotten the bell, and as soon as I get the bell, something happened in the group chat. I'm like, oh yeah, once I get the bell, I can't come back, you know? So it occurs to me after I get the bell, I'm like, oh, I need to do it on my way out, you know? So I literally look it up. I'm doing this on my way out. So thankfully you can do that still. You don't have to get it on the way up, which I don't know if it's nice or not. It doesn't really matter, I suppose. Either way, either direction, it sucks. But I was able to get my way back. And yeah, so I get my ass down to the 4th floor, and sure enough, there's what was a secret room, not a parallel world. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't know I was going to get some different text, you know, or what to think of what that meant even, you know. And what it means is these secret rooms are single screen deals. And this first one that I found with the Dragon Slayer, there's a big sword lying on the ground in the middle of just like kind of a nothing room. And there are a million fucking bats! Like a fucking million of them, man. And they are flying at supersonic speed around. Like, they are fast as fuck. And I had 96 HP coming in, right? And I am vaped. I am not exaggerating, dudes. I like did it a bunch of times and was trying to time it with this. Like, it's basically a stopwatch. And 2 seconds, I am dead. Oh, wow. And like, I tried, I don't know, a dozen times or something. And there was just no glimmer of hope. Yeah, of getting not this, even close. You know, and like I can't go out and get power up. I have no option. I can't go out and get power ups. I can't like do anything to create some temporary invisibility. There's nothing. So I'm like, fuck it, Game Genie.
Dude, like that is the feeling. I didn't get to that point until again Bell 7, but like that feeling of trapped. Like I finally made it and like beat this boss, but like I don't have enough to make it through. What do you want me to do? There's no way to do this.
Yeah, what do you want me to do? Exactly. What do you want me to fucking do? God. Well, Game Genie is what you want me to do, and I did that for sure. But here's the thing. Like, this is just further application. You can't just... Because if you turn that on, there's no point in playing the game. If you can't turn that... I guess a better way to say that is, if you can't turn that off, there's no point in playing the game. It's going to be really... Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe just as like a fuck you. It would be kind of fun just to see it. but it's not going to... It's certainly not going to feel at all gratifying to go through the whole game with this on, which is what you have to do on OG Hardware Game Genie. You'd have to put this code in and play the whole fucking game that way. I guess... Oh, yeah. I guess you have the passwords. I guess that's not true. You can get the passwords. That's not true. But... It's still not as easy as just turning it on for this one little moment and then turning it back off. You don't have that option. So, that's kind of a funny thing to think about.
I can't, like, I had such a different experience playing this game. Maybe we'll talk about it towards the end, but, like, I can't believe what they're asking you to do.
It's fucking unreal, man.
It's unbelievable.
It's unfucking real. Well, the Dragon Slayer is certainly fun. As the name says, the manual description, it has a very strong attacking power, and then in parenthetical, it says it gives you confidence. Get it as soon as you can. And I did hate, like, it has a visual distinction from that sort, or didn't rather have a visual distinction from the short sword that I've been rocking with to date. Like, in the game, I'm saying. Like, on the item screen, it does, and even on the ground when you pick it up, but when you fire your weapon,
it looks the same.
It does. It looks exactly the same, and that really sucks. It doesn't surprise me, but it fucking sucks. And then, the double shot in here is the other one. And that one's just a normal parallel world, not nearly as much of a fucking to-do to get your hands on. But, oh my God. Yeah, I felt like that, like I said, it felt like the game broke. I felt like I had broken the fucking game. That was the amount of differential that I got out of picking that up. So that was fucking great. Now, the Great Wing Tower, this one is critical, Jay. There's a secret room. This is the one, yes. Maybe it's not out in space, perhaps. But there's a secret room inside of the secret room. On the exterior climb of the Great Wing Tower, and this is where you get the blue necklace. And like, the blue necklace, when used, you become temporarily invincible, rather. That's what the manual says. Sounds like, okay, that's cool. glad I have that. You know, we'll see if
It's like getting a star in Mario.
Right. But sure, yeah. But like, you know, I don't know. I expect, especially now that I've already tried the turn the damage thing on, you know, I'm like, I didn't try it and like see how good it was. I expected to not use it like I didn't use everything else, whatever. But I got that here, and like, that's so critical because otherwise, no chance in hell. And then, you know, again, me being able to interpret your screen when you beat the game, like, there's no way to beat the game without this. None. If you don't get this, there's no chance in my mind of beating the game. So it seems like just another consumable item, perhaps, but this is as critical of a thing, I think, as any other thing you get in the entire video game. And, you know, there's no way to know that until you get to the end of the game.
I can see that.
And then the hyper armor is a parallel world inside of the tower. Pick up here, and the description for that is magical armor made out of forged steel. It provides the maximum defense strength. It creates an energy shield around the player, which is driven by the good mind of the player. Interesting.
Oh my gosh, would have been nice to.
Yeah. And the Beat Plant Tower, what did it have? It had a secret room leading to the Shield of the King. This is the most powerful shield. It's guarded by the holy power and shines golden, is what the manual says. It's the best shield. You want that. And Wheeler Tower has what? The Magic Mace and the Parallel Shot. And the Parallel Shot, description for that is, when you have this item, it allows you to shoot two swords in parallel. And yeah, like I've already said, not a huge fan of that. And the Magic Mace is here too. And this one,
I never saw that.
Yes, this is the description. The description is Magic Mace will protect Prince Meyer. The effect of the Magic Mace is not known. It will save the prince's life. And that just sounds like more bullshit. You know, like in other descriptions, it's kind of like whatever. But that's true, because what this is actually for is it creates a force field around you. And it's like, they look like little mace heads, and they kind of just, like, one circles you and it leaves a little trail of them around you. And it's, I think it's a timed thing, whatever the case. But basically, when something flies into this or moves into it or touches it, this force field, it dies. And this is what you have to be able to beat those bat rooms. So it does, again, it's just another example, I think, of what I've kind of been getting at here of like, it's all there. All the shit's here.
Yeah, it really is.
It's here, but I needed another breadcrumb or two to get to it. You know? And they just didn't have that built into it to make it a truly pleasant experience to play the game. But it is all here. And that's, I think, the most frustrating thing, the most insidious thing about the game is that it is all here. They just didn't put it together well enough. And I think that's where the real kernel of the frustration of this game. Yeah. And then the Centipede Tower has the helmet, and this is described as, this is the helmet with the best defensive strength that controls the enemy's attack by using magical power, so the damage to you is minimal. And fucking greed. It is a noticeable downtick in the damage that anything does to you. When I completed my armor set of this, it was like visually different. Like, shit is starting to do, like, most of those dumb grunt enemies are doing like 1 or 2 damage at a time. And at no point in your play was it ever like this, you know, prior to this. So it was a huge fucking tactile difference in the way the game felt to complete that armor set. That was, again, that whole, like, feeling the progress was really, really prominent in getting to that thing. So whatever the case, however many items you may have gotten, not gotten, how hard it might have been to beat those enemies and the bosses, once you finish up those towers and you exit the last one, all the entrances are gone. And you can no longer even get down into Dungeon 10, I found. So my presumption was that you couldn't get into any dungeons. And I think it's so interesting that I'll find out on the way down that you could. But, like, I assumed that it kind of, like, walled you off from all the dumb shit. And, like, created a, you know, like the tunnel to the Dragon Warrior in Dragon Warrior 1, where, like, you're in the end of the dungeon down to his throne room or to that floor of the castle is like that constricting hallway, you know, like that, like, it's telling you that you're in the approach to the boss because there's no way to get off the path. You know what I mean? And I thought that's what this was. Learned that's not the case, but I thought for sure that's what had happened. Feeling that, I felt there was only one left to do. Or one, yeah, I fucked it up. God damn it! I wanted to quote Major League and I fucked it up. I'm not even going to do it now. I'm just sad. I had a Major League quote there that would have felt great if you're a Major League fan. But I burned all the remaining bells and started racking my brain on where to go. And the only POI I came up with is those sentry guards. Did you guys know where the fuck to go?
Absolutely not. Since I had already come out of the door of the sentry guards, I knew that wasn't the way to go. And so I kind of went back and forth at first between the Holy Flame place and then going out. And I was like, what? But nothing
changed.
There's nothing else here. What is happening? So
did you even know that you were out in the same area? Because I never left. Like, I spent so much time in that tower area and had no reason to leave that I had kind of forgotten the feel of like I said, I spent so much time like not even sure if I was going back down the mountain or if I was in a new place.
I knew, but at that point I just said, forget it. Where am I supposed to go? Let me just look it up, because I don't want to. I know how annoying it can be to try to get from that all the way back to the beginning. So I'm like, I just need to know, like, where am I going? I don't want to fight. I'm at full health now. This is a very rare occurrence. I need to know exactly where I need to go.
Fair. And Jab, you had your troubles, yes, as well?
Yeah, so I didn't know that you had to burn the bells because I didn't read the data sheet. And, I thought that sacred flame that you burned the bells at was just like a health spa. So I had to ask you guys for that help. That was my experience. I'm kind of shocked, though, if you if you do read the manual, it kind of is all there. Again, the whole game's there, man. It's so weird.
Well, here's the thing. There's even there's an item. I think maybe they're one of the crystals or something that, and it's this is obviously in the manual. It's in the breakdown. You can see that this is an option you can get in the game, even if you don't get your hands on it. But there's an item that takes you back to the beginning of the game, that first screen, and like I remember seeing that at first, and I was like, why the fuck would you want to do that?
I could just die.
This is why. So you don't have to do any of this if you have that item, this whole fucking thing. And that, I don't know. Like I said, it's just another dagger turn because you're not going to, it's like, it's not an abundant item. It's an item that you're going to have to like target in those dungeons. I think it's a 5 to 7 bell item, whatever, it's going to be a whole to do to get that. So you have to like do all this busy work to have that as a convenience, a life convenience option to you, so it's arguable whether it's even a net positive, but it does exist and gives you some clue that you need to go back to the beginning for some reason or another, you know what I mean? So, again, it's all there. It's all fucking there.
My dumbass, I went back, before I asked you guys, I went back down in the dungeon, was like, I'm going to give it like one more shot. I'm just going to wander around, see if anything's different. Nope. Nothing.
Nope. Nothing. So yeah, like I said, I didn't even guess that those were there. I presumed that you couldn't go back to the dungeon. So
I got into them somehow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I didn't think I'd be able to. I'm coming back down, and I'm pretty sure it's just going from that first one to the second one. You pass through one of those tiny mini boss arenas, and I don't even think. Again, I don't think I went that way behind the fucking sentries. So I didn't even know this was going to be over here. But I think it's. I don't know. Again, I just don't know how to make sense of that flow. But I went through one of the little mini boss areas, and maybe that was actually the Black Bucks. I don't fucking know. But I go through this, and like I said, you come out of the door, you're going down, so you come out of the door, and you're on top of the fucking boss.
Yeah.
So there's no way to avoid damage.
That's the worst one.
Yeah, and then you're just knocked wherever. Like just
I was in a loop with
yeah, exactly. Just total RNG bullshit. I'd say there's probably a 75% chance you're going to get knocked into what is a dungeon entrance on this thing in this tiny constricted space. So the most likely flowchart of trying to work your way back down this mountain is that you're going to get thrown into a dungeon that you probably didn't even experience on your going the other way. So think about that. You're like, okay, I'm in the final fucking run to finish this horrific experience. And like, you're just dumped down into one of these dungeons and there's going to be nothing down there of benefit. You just gotta find the exit and just maybe get back on the fucking path to where you're trying to go. And like,
unfucking believable.
Unreal, man. Of course, I just loaded state, but like, holy fuck. Like, the idea that you don't have any control over that it's crazy, man. It's fucking crazy.
I cannot believe they want what they want you to do.
Yeah. I mean, it happened to me in like, that area is so small that I assumed that I couldn't even avoid the dungeon, you know? Like, my like, estimation of how big these spaces were that you could enter the dungeons from were like, I don't know, like, you know, a little bit bigger than your sprite. So, like, that area is not that much bigger than that. I'm like, my assumption is I can't get through there. You know, because you're going to get bounced around some. And, you know, if you do it enough times, sure, you can stick to the left and be able to get out of there without getting fallen down in that dungeon. But, like, yeah, I go back and, like, I'm, like, looking for another way to get down because I'm thinking I can't go through there, you know? And, you know, just fucking brutal.
Disaster.
Yep. So then I come down, I fucking check the statues. I realize that I've been there. I go through that door. I realize that doesn't get me anywhere. I eventually thought to go back to the beginning, but it fucking, you know, was not my first inclination. The door's open, thankfully. You go in there. It's just another tower climb, like the other ones.
Same old.
Yeah, there's no
another one of these.
Yeah, and then and I'm going through here, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I know I don't have Splendor yet, so I'm going through here, and I'm like, I know, like, you know, I'm not gonna look it up because I'm going to try to do some of this the right way, and like, so I didn't look up where the Splendor Sword was. So I go through this whole thing, fence testing.
Oh God,
the climb. So like, the idea that I felt like I needed to slow down this, what should be the most dramatic time of the game, with that dumb runaround bullshit is just, I think it's just everything about this video game. Yeah, you know, it just
really
says everything. Because, and actually just maybe, did you even know this because you had it already? I presume it's still there knowing this game, but was the sword at the top? Because that's where it is. You climb all the way to the top and it's just sitting there on the ground in front of the door.
Right outside the door, and it was there, yes.
Okay, copy. When you picked it up, did you pick it up?
I did.
Was it in your? Did you check your inventory to see if it like goes back to use again? Could you use it even though you already had it? I guess
I did. I think it was just in the inventory. It was like it could be equipped or dropped. I'm sure. So I just had two.
Okay. Word, that doesn't surprise me. So you picked, and like, you know, I kind of like, once I saw it, because I did. It was, you know, there's not a lot of times when this game dumped something unexpected on me that made me happy. You know, so this was a moment where like I was genuinely shocked and happy to see that lying there. You know, so I'll give it that, but it was still funny to me that, like I said, I expected it to have to do some dumb shit to get it. But
oh, stop! You upgraded from the Dragon Slayer. My level, I was going from 3 to 100. Like, oh my gosh!
Yeah. So what sword did you have? Do you have the normal sword?
The normal sword.
Okay.
So I saw that and I was like,
is there another intermediary? There's the short sword, the normal sword, and then
I think it's just the dragon and then this
and the Dragon Slayer. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like doing cartwheels like
over the
finally.
Moon, right?
Like I don't have any armor, but hey, well, let's roll.
Yeah, well, I was still happy too. Maybe not as happy as you. I'll concede that, but so I walk in here again, maybe pleasant surprise. You go through that doorway and it is not, there's no, I expected to have to go through a tower. And there's not. You go straight into a final boss battle arena and are treated promptly to a boss rush. We first get the centipede we already saw. And then I think it might have been like death bear faces on these black boxes. I don't think it was an exact replica of a boss we'd already seen.
Yeah,
but
it
kind of
different about it for sure.
Right. Kind of looked like them. And obviously there's two of them. And it's the first time we've seen that too. So it's like, it's not the same, but it's not necessarily different, and they're definitely just doing what the other ones were, just flying around and shooting fireballs, you know. So you kill those two things, or I didn't kill them. That's not how my flowchart went, but that's what you're trying to do. Before we get to what follows them, were you guys able to kind of traverse this in any sort of, like, manageable way?
Manageable. This was a joke. This was no problem for me. Like, with everything else, there was no need for cheats. There was no need for anything. The centipede boss didn't even touch me. So I wasn't even, in my mind, I'm like, is this a different boss than the first one? Because I was able to, clearly I didn't try to stand in the corner. As soon as this started moving,
right,
I just started avoiding and shooting and just like took it out immediately.
I didn't have any trouble with the centipede. I had some trouble with the faces, though.
Nah, the face hit me a couple times, but I still left there with like, I don't know, 240-ish or something. And then I had a blue potion with me, so I just re-upped after that. So
nice.
Not hard at all.
And that's how you got through Rubus as well.
What do you mean? Like with full health?
Yeah, basically, just with one potion refuel, you were able to beat Rubus too?
Absolutely not. What are we talking about?
Oh, okay.
Of course
okay.
not. Like, no,
Okay.
no, not at all. Man. Not required.
Jab, am I wrong? Is that not how it sounded?
Like,
Oh,
no.
a little bit, yeah.
I'm
I
saying
was
the
gonna say, 'cause,
boss
like, that's not the
rush
experience I had.
up to Rubus.
Oh, okay,
was
copy.
A joke, and like
Copy.
it went from that. Also went from like 0 to 100 immediately. He jumps on you like I can't
Okay, well, yeah, I like
do
hearing it. Okay, yeah, I like your approach to this better. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Jab, what about you? Were you able to get through the first two and to Rubus without anything drastic?
Yeah, nothing too crazy in the first two. Just standard bosses
Okay.
bouncing around. Yeah. You know.
Okay. Well, I couldn't even beat the Death Bear faces. I had 230 max HP going into this, and I was probably very close to it, if not full. And I get down to 14 before I even take out the Death Bear things. So I'm like frantically, I just scramble to my subscreen, and in my inventory, I have one Kool-Aid for 50 piddly HP that I don't expect much from, but I use it anyways. And I had forgotten that I even had the blue necklace. And I had to physically see it to be reminded of what it does. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes me invincible. So I'm like, I think I literally thought to myself, like, no time like the present, let her rip. And like I said, I haven't tried it. I have no idea how long it lasts. I don't know anything about its capabilities, So
Right.
I come out of the subscreen and it turns you orange. And you can immediately tell you're taking no damage. It's very similar to the cheat. I imagine probably functionally it's the same. You just don't get the color with the cheat. And you I don't know. Do you even get bumped? I don't even know if I don't think you even get bumped. I think you're just truly invincible. You're not even getting the knockback, which is beautiful. And yeah, dude. So I come out. I absolutely smash the Death Bear duo with this thing. I'm just standing on top of him, pounding him with the fucking, I got the double shot too, and then the parallel, so I'm able to fire super fast. And I fucking take them out, and then Rubus appears, and he looks like a wizard. It's not too far off from the shopkeeper dudes, I would say. He has this black ball with a face circling around him, and it leaves a trail of the copies. It's very similar, I guess, to the mace thing you have, actually. And they kind of look like chain chomps from Mario 3, because they do have a face on them,
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
So I kind of got that vibe from them. And he just moves around in this it's a pretty tight boss arena. It's like maybe between the two that you get with the other bosses. It's not quite as small as the smallest one, not quite as big as the bigger one. And he's just trying to kamikaze into you with this force field, basically. I think maybe he shoots something too. I don't know. But it took me maybe 6 fucking seconds of just lighting this motherfucker up right on top of him to take him out. So super easy. Because I had this blue necklace, but looking at the way he behaved in those 6 seconds, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
He's very aggressive. Like, and the enemies in this game actually are aggressive. Like, I feel like the AI tracking, the I don't know, the enemies know what they're doing. They're trying to get you. Like, they come at you.
I agree.
And like the fire and the bats, like they can come at you in like unpredictable patterns. But
this guy is next level. This guy, he doesn't even give you. He just jumps on. Like he jumped on me, didn't give me a second to move. Like
Well, yeah. Again, it's a small arena, so like, I just don't see where you could go.
I mean, I tried to scoot away so I could shoot him, and he like tried to scoot on top of me again. It's like, motherfucker, get off of me! Like
he's going right at you.
Yeah, I had to like spam him up and like beat him to your point, like blast him full on. But
is there even, so again, I didn't even have to try to necessarily avoid him. Or not necessarily. I didn't have to try to avoid him. So, did you, like, is there room, I guess what I'm asking is there room to get around his fucking ass and the force field in that room at all? Like, I kind of look at it and I don't see how, especially because
I was still in the center of it. Like, it was just around me, or he was on top of me, or I was just in the middle
Oh,
of
so
it,
can you exist inside of it?
Yeah, like
okay,
like with it going around.
I wouldn't have expected that.
Not long, because he still is
Sure,
inching closer
moving.
towards me.
Right,
so
yeah.
I had to take him out before he jumps on me again.
So you probably got to learn like how to move ever so incrementally and like learn literally his movement pattern and be able to kind of dance with him. You know, which sounds fucking impossible and miserable, but that's probably the route to doing it the right way, you know? Huh.
I mean, how could you just encounter this guy and just do this? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's... Whew.
No.
So you game genie then, Jab, as well, yeah?
I did not game genie, no. I just, like, I had a save state where I kind of, like, I saved just as soon as the fight started, and then, like, I tried, like, 3 or 4 different, like, walking patterns. Because he started, like, right on top of me, and, like, I'm inside of his, like, you know, his rotating sphere. And I basically just, like, tried to go left and just, like, you know, immediately destroyed. You know, try to go right, immediately destroyed, up and right, you know. And I eventually kind of parsed it out. I got against the wall and just turned around and just spam. And then finally got him.
Okay.
And, like, while you're, you know, if you're moving, you can hit him too. So, you know, as I'm trying to get out of there, I'm shooting. And
Wow.
Right.
I mean, it didn't strike me as fair or fun.
Sure, yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, you know, my thing with the blessing, you know, is always, do I feel like the boss was hard to give me the accomplishment feeling, but still possible? And yeah, this doesn't hit the sweet spot for sure.
not even close, I would say.
That doesn't seem like it hit the sweet spot.
No, sir.
Okay, well, you know, whether you cheat or you do it, however it might be, the victory celly of this, the screen flashes for a few seconds, during which I'm literally, you know, this game's fucked me so many times that I'm watching this and I'm holding my breath,
Yeah.
expecting some bullshit, some sort of second manifestation of him or whatever. And, like, mind you, I'm only to this part of it because of the necklace, which...
Yeah.
How long's that going to last? I don't expect long. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was like extra tense about what's going to happen next. And it goes on way too fucking long too. And it's accompanied by this, I mean, just a horrific sound. Of these, like, I don't know, man, like the bells start falling, and it might actually be just that one dumb sound that you get when you get the bell, but like long sustained iterations of it. So just, I don't know, one of the worst fucking things I've ever heard.
What were these things? I didn't even understand what they were.
Those are the bells. They're the bells.
The bells?
Yeah.
There was like a lot more than 7, though.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, I don't have a narrative explanation for that.
Okay.
I can't. Yeah, but they're definitely
Wait, what
the
do you
bells.
mean there's a lot more than 7?
Like more than 7 fall in the
From the
animation.
sky.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that goes on way too long, and then it fades to a text scroll over black, like the opening prologue. Little item icons bring up the paragraphs just the same, and an end crate fires up. That's much better. This reads, "The hard and bitter battle has finally reached its end. Starring, not staring, tiredly at Rubus's destroyed castle, Prince Meyer felt that his victory had fulfilled the promise of peace over the kingdom. His heir, maybe? Got some autocorrect happening here, maybe? Suddenly filled with a wondrous feeling. Looking up toward heaven, he heard a voice from above, the same one he had heard earlier by the lake. 'My name is Khan, Prince Meyer. You have done a great deed in defeating the devil of darkness. This brings an end to the age of stone and copper. Peace will prosper in the kingdom.' At once, the prince returned to give the message of the victory to the king. The following day, he succeeded the throne, being praised as the king of light by the people. The peace and prosperity of the kingdom continued for about 1,000 years, until the coming of the Iron Age and the revival of the devil of darkness." So I love that. I love that it's telling you you're still fucked.
Don't worry. Deadly Towers 2 is coming.
Right. Just hilarious to me. And then cut to a pretty decent pixel art deal of the throne room. A significantly smaller Prince Meyer approaches the king, who is standing in front of the throne, to stand by his side. They slowly turn and look at each other, and then back at our POV, it's honestly kind of creepy, I think, the way they
so
look.
weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's, and I can't put my finger on exactly what, but something about it's creepy. It's like, I don't know, they look like little marionette dolls or something. It's fucking
Well,
creepy.
it's like their face changes from, like, they're smiling when they're looking at each other from, like, the profile, from the broadside view, and then when they look at you, the smile goes away, and they look at you,
Right, yeah,
smile
that-
again. It's like,
that's
what the
it, right.
fuck is
Yeah,
going
they
on?
know something you don't. Yeah. Maybe that's it for sure. So that happens. A new crank fires up. and the text, "He succeeded to the throne and peace will prosper in the future," scrolls along the bottom, and everything but the king and prince sprites fade to black, and we get a credit scroll beneath them in the void. And there are 14 credited peeps for this, which is more than I'd have guessed, in all honesty. And one of them is credited as Map Check, and check again, motherfucker, your maps are awful. Like, who the fuck, what is Map Check exactly? And he did a bad job.
This guy collected a salary, didn't do a fucking thing.
Right. It ends on, "You are victorious, the story is over. See you next time!" Exclamation. And they wind it down with that. And no, you will not. We are done with Deadly Towers, Lorik Disciples.
That is the Maze 1 theme, bringing us into the blessing. What will be the verdict of these so-called Deadly Towers? Josh.
Should I go first? Jay, you go first.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What do we even say about this freaking game, man? I will say on the plus side, on the pro side, I did have those moments when it felt like I was grinding for good gear in the dungeons. They gave me, upgrades, made me move a little faster, be a little stronger. I felt like, I feel like I'm feeling good here. And so that was nice. When I hit the towers, felt like I was playing a game. All right, I feel like I know the flow now. But that was all thrown into disarray, knowing that you could just completely miss gear sets, never ever get them. Or never just find things, and you're just screwed and you'll just have to figure it out. And I don't know, man. If I played this game alone, also, I'm absolutely miserable. Like, if I wasn't talking to you guys about playing it together, if we weren't playing it at the same time and I had somebody to talk to about, no, I'm also miserable. But at the same time, if somebody came and remastered this today and like, hey, Deadly Towers remastered, fixes to stupid things, all those kind of stuff.
That probably exists.
I'm like, would I try it again with like upgraded graphics and stuff too, so that I felt like I was playing something different? I might check it out, but there's just so much, man. I don't know if I can give it the blessing. Like, I want to like it, I really do, but with everything we said, like, even with the cheat, even with that NES cheat, I thought about going back and seeing how different it was, but then I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to experience that again. Like, it wasn't
Exactly
the
right,
core gameplay loop. Is
like
it fun?
Right.
No, it's not.
Yep. Yeah, I don't need to ever do this again in my life for sure. So that's a no, is it not?
That's a X from Gentleman JB.
Fair. Jab.
So, like we said several times, there's a lot of things where this game, it's right there, like we were saying. There were things about it, and that's just me kind of hearing these things from you guys, as we did the podcast here. But even like the mechanics were good. You control well, you move well, you don't ever feel cheated in that regard. So you're excited about that. It just, it like, being so punitive, just like dying, and then that's just it. Like I can't. I mean, that's a fatal flaw right there. But honestly, like I said, playing the game with the cheat from the beginning, without having to do any of the grinding, without having to find the Dragon Slayer, like you said, in that room full of bats. Like, I mean, if you just do that as a regular fucking kid that just happened upon that, which is already a minor miracle. Like,
yeah, right.
Already.
I don't even know if I'd say minor. It's kind of just a miracle.
It's a for real miracle. And like, you wander in this room, and like you said, 2 seconds later, you're dead, and it's just like, start the fuck over. It's unbelievable. So I had the feeling, like, as this game went on, I was like, you know what? This is a great Atari game.
That's not a bad way to put it.
Like, and even like the end, like, I think it's like where you when you do when you burn the bells of the sacred flame, like the screen flashing and like the noises it makes there, it's very reminiscent of Atari.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually had more fun with the game than probably you guys did, because I started off with all the best items and the way that I think the game should have been designed in the first place. Just as like an action game, not an action RPG where you gotta do those stupid shit that's super punitive and RNG heavy. So no, it doesn't get the blessing from me. This is not a good game. I feel bad for kids who got this for a gift-giving occasion or rented it for a weekend, and you're just fucked now. You're playing Mario again. Like, fuck.
Probably so many of them.
Poor Jerome.
Poor Jerome.
Though, I mean, he didn't get it so bad, but yeah, it sounds like he had a moment with it, so.
Yeah, it is an absolutely horrible video game. It's... Like, I mean, it's not the same. Like, you talking about the core mechanic, like, yeah, like the core controls, I think maybe is a better way to put it. Because I think the core mechanic is the actual battle. And I think that is the problem, is that it's a fucking joke. The battle is a joke. It's RNG City. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, yeah, there's no way to get good, really.
Like,
I don't
this
think.
style would be well done later in the future, like, Final Fantasy Adventure is, essentially this game, but, like, actually good.
Right. And that's, that's the thing. Like, I shouldn't say, it's not that there's no way to get good, is that there are things that you can do that with. Like I said, there's like I told you, the giraffes. Like, I learned that those guys only move right and left. So when I saw those motherfuckers come on, like, when I spawn walk through a door in a dungeon and I see them, I know where to go to be safe.
You know what to do.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of enemies like that you learn what they do, and you can then in turn react accordingly and get good. But there's way too much that you can't. And there's just too much. There's too much, and it's too punitive when...
It's so punitive.
When it doesn't, when you're not... In the instances where you're not able to, it's so punitive to not be able to. And that, multiplying it on top of itself is just... It's such a bad experience. The idea, I already said it, but the idea that it exists as a cart that you could put into an NES... and play without save states is just hilarious to me. Yeah. I just can't believe that. I don't know. Like, you think of these developers as like, you think of them as like, they're adults and they have like adult sensibilities and they're making informed, smart choices based on all their adult fucking accumulated knowledge and shit. And it's such a great testament to like, the actual reality of that no one knows shit and everyone's just fucking their children, basically, who just have lived longer and have learned a couple skills that maybe allow them to do something that an 8-year-old can't. But they don't really know what they're doing in so many cases, and this is just an fucking embodiment of that and a half. All that said, yes, if you play it like a modern game with save states being used nonstop, like, I was drawn into making progress in this game. Yeah. Like, particularly once I started fucking, checking my little fucking inventory screen, stacking boxes that makes you fucking feel good. Like, that fucking felt great. And puncturing the membrane of getting to the towers area so you understand what the fucking objectives are is a really good feeling too. But you gotta be some kind of fucking sick 8-bit gaming motherfucker to have any love for this in any real way. And, it's by no means, it's an overstatement and a half to say it's the worst NES game ever made. Like, it's not broken in that way. Like, the RNG sucks, but point. It's not broken, So, like, it's important, I think, to couch against what, again, the sentiment that it's the worst thing that's ever happened is not true. But it is a horrible video game, and King Lorik laughs anyone trying to pitch Blessing Woo for this game right out of his court. But I am nonetheless glad I played it. And I thank thee, Sir Jerome, for forcing us to do so. You're a gentleman and a scholar, because it was an experience that I'm glad I had in all the anguish that I might have experienced having it. And that is that. So that is 3 no's, but glad we went there. And that is it. Deadly Towers is in the books. I can't believe it's got to be all downhill from here, I guess, as far as the experiences we could have. It can't get any worse than this, I guess is what I'm saying. On our trek through the MAG timeline. So, next up is Nintendo Power 21. And then we'll get rolling, maybe back on our PS2 side quest here, I imagine. It'll take some time for that, of course. But those 2 things are on the horizon. And you can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbest company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. Follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. Link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist is in the show notes. There's the ISOH subreddit if you hate Facebook and want to get down on this on there. We don't have a Patreon, but if you like giving money to things podcasters tell you to, would like to do so in our direction. The Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. T-shirts on the website. They're dope on proceeds on those. After pod expenses, go to Able Gamers. I've been talking for too long. I can't do it anymore. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E is where you can find me. Basically on Facebook, Instagram. It's my gamer tag. Blah blah blah.
Jab! Tell us about your socials.
I certainly still don't have any, so don't worry about that.
You can find if you look up, if you take enough things. I've tried to do this actually. I've tried to triangulate you on Reddit based on things you've talked about, and try to find your username based on things that I think you would say about certain topics.
Okay. No luck.
Yeah, no luck yet, but the possibility exists. Much like beating Deadly Towers, it's not impossible, but it's super hard.
It's unlikely.
I am on Instagram at myshifkeyisbroke. I'm on Twitter at Josh Folan, and my Oculus tag is also myshifkeyisbroke. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Later.